dollar component of the cash in various currencies as Asante Hine's appointee. Now, $8,000 out of the $1 million allegedly stolen from the minister's Abelinkwe home in Accra was said to belong to one Nana Akwesi Esan II, who is the Numuahini to the Otumfo Osei II, and the brother of Madam Abna, Cicely Abna Dapa, who died in January 2022. Now, the Asante Hine's name was mentioned in an official document by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice detailing the ownership of the money, how the huge sums were stolen from the ex-minister's home, how it was detected, how long it took the police to arrest the suspects, amongst other things. And then he goes on to provide you further details on this particular
Is it true
matter.
that the wife of the deceased brother is filing a suit claiming part of the money?
Exactly. It's been suggested that she's gone to court seeking an order from the court to have some control over the funds in question, because, I mean, as the wife, we are told, of the deceased person, of course, when it comes to administration of property and all of that, she would have some preference.
Because it was said that the money, part of the money belonged to the deceased brother.
Yeah, so it was claimed by Paul Adomotri that the money was handed over to Cecilia Abnada Pass, mother by the deceased, and then the mother also subsequently handed the money over to the minister.
So the late wife, the wife of the late man is also saying that he wants. Okay.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, the deputy AG says our report is authentic. Believe it. This is on my journal online. The deputy attorney general Alfred Chiayeboa is telling Ghanaians to believe the report issued by his outfit regarding the case of former sanitation minister Cecilia Abnada. For about 2 weeks since the scandal, which occurred in her residence, surfaced in the media, there have been varying accounts of the actual details of the case from the police, the AG's office, and the complainant. Nonetheless, Mr. Chiayeboa holds the view that of all the various reports that have come out on the case, it's the one from the Attorney General's office that must be trusted. Speaking on the probe, the Deputy AG insisted, for now, believe our report, but subject to investigations of the police, because the report that was issued is based on the information the police provided to us. We've asked them to go back and do further work. He explained that since his outfit does not conduct investigations and their report is based upon information provided by the police, any inaccuracies that may appear in the AG's report will indicate that there are discrepancies in the investigations conducted by the police.
Interesting. All right, let's get to the front page of the Daily Graphic. And the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is there, and he's confirmed that Cabinet has approved a new policy for the exploitation, management, and regulation of lithium and other green minerals in the country. Often referred to as the minerals of the future, green minerals are metals and other mineral resources that are needed to support the transition to clean energy technologies aimed at reducing carbon emissions. Now, the minister told the Daily Graphic last Thursday that Cabinet had approved the policy on July 27 after a vigorous minerals policy thus amends the mining and minerals policy of 2014 to include robust and progressive regimes that would enable the country to reap optimum benefits from lithium.
Speaking of policies, MPA is commencing the cylinder recirculation model in September. The National Petroleum Authority is to roll out the cylinder recirculation model this year. Deputy Chief Executive of the authority, Pereku Jato, has said, he said under the CRM, residents of Accra and other selected parts of the country do not have to own a cylinder to use LPG for domestic commercial activities. Now, speaking of that sector, the Herald's lead story is quite interesting. It's talking about the confusion rocking the $1.8 billion Gensa Energy GMPC deal, with names of the former minister popping up, Atachia's committee also being cited, and the full details of the story are on page 3. And parts of the story read that the last 2 weeks have seen coordinated media campaign by Gensa to get the public believe it is rather a victim of a wrongful corporate decision, but not involved in any scheme to deny the country revenue from its natural resources. Gensa has completed the pipeline construction to Kumasi and is awaiting for GMPC to start paying for the infrastructure. But GMPC neither has the gas volumes nor the cash to meet Gensa's demands. Gensa has therefore made a new proposal to split the contract into infrastructure and commodity at its discretion. You know the background of this story, right? The 1.8 billion, we are told that GMPC will be liable to pay over 16 years for a pipeline installed by Gensa, despite earlier denials that the pipeline to Kumasi would not cost GMPC that amount. And then work by ASEP and Imani are cited in the report, as well as a committee set up by Atachia to probe the matter. This is not the last we've heard of this issue.
Bernard, let's stay with the news headlines. And if you go to the Chronicle, there's a story there talking about lithium and
that's what he read in the graphic as well.
And then, lithium is used for a number of things, including electric vehicles and matters like that. Now, Ghana to license only electric vehicles for trotro and taxis, according to a deputy minister. Now, commercial mini buses, also known as trotro in Ghana, taxis and private cars are to transition from fossil fuels to electric. This is a good one.
Let's make sure the ones on the road, their brakes are working first. Let's make sure they have light first. You are seeing these kind of cars on the road, you are moving to electric car. People are converting vans from Germany into trotro and putting angle bars in cars.
We want to modernize the trailer. Why?
So we are jumping straight from the current trotro to electric.
Yes. A bus rapid transit system to be piloted in Kumasi will make use of only electric vehicles. This is to help prevent toxic emissions from fossil fuel vehicles entering the environment that warm the planet. Now, the transition is not expected to happen overnight, but as a gradual process, which is projected to take between 10 to 50 years.
We hear.
And this is according to Hassan Sulemana Tampuli, who is the deputy minister responsible for transport.
So let's do the necessary. There are many cars on the road that are not roadworthy. There are many trotters that need to be phased out. Let's get a simple BRT to work. Let's not bring electrical in it. It's like SkyTrain. You haven't done your train from Tema to wherever. Then you say you want to do stray in the sky. You haven't even go and see trotters are cycled today. Some don't even have light. Then you say you want to go straight to electric. Charlie, let's start. Let's not be doing these things. It's not good. It's early morning Monday. Let's not do that. It's not fresh. Charlie, come to the Chronicle. Is it a Daily Guide?
Well, the Daily Guide has a story. Now, last week...
Yes, Gabby's response to Ablakwa is in the number of papers this morning.
Yeah, it's there.
The publisher has it too.
Yes, just give us the highlights.
Okay, now, you know that Okujeto Ablakwa released some details of this, what he called a kitchen scandal last week, alleging that Gabby Otridako is acting for West Blue in the pursuit of some 187 million Ghana cedis, which is said to be arrears that West Blue is owed by the government of Ghana over transactions that they had done for the Republic, or some contract that they had signed with the Republic. And, Okujeto Ablakwa found reason to believe that that was a bad thing that was being done. Now, Gabby apparently has responded to that, and the Ghanaian publisher has the details. Says that senior partner at the African Legal Associates, Gabby Asare-Otridako, who has stated that it is their legitimate and bona fide legal right to offer legal services to their client, West Blue Ghana Limited. Now, he said his firm was engaged by West Blue Ghana Limited on the 29th day of April 2021 to assist them to recover outstanding payments due from the government of Ghana under a contract dated the 4th of August 2015, executed between our client, in this case Gabby's client, on the one hand, and the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance on the other hand. Now, Mr. Daku goes on to speak about a number of things, but basically what he's saying, the fact that he's the relation of the president does not mean that he should not get involved.
Now, BEC begins today. 602,000 sit the exam. This is the first time that we have more ladies or girls than boys in the history of the exam. This 602,000 is a 49,000 increase over last year's figure of 553. It will be held for both private and public schools. Starts Monday, 7th August to Friday, August 11th. I wrote my BEC on August 6, 1995.
Not in August.
Yes, 1995.
I wrote my BEC in April.
And that was 28 years ago. It was a rainy morning like this.
I see.
And I was wearing a sweater.
I wrote my BEC in April. I can't seem to remember that.
Yeah. And I'm told this will be the last BEC of this form. According to Citi news sources, next year there's going to be a new format, which we are being told will be a different format. So we're keeping an eye on that story. Now, also, update, Bolgatanga, 3 arrested for stealing boxes of medicine in the Bolgatanga hospital. This is citynewsroom.com. The police, through an intelligence-led operation, have arrested suspects Raymond Asoke, Niel Bridget, and Rahim Fasilat for stealing boxes of medicines at the Bolgatanga Regional Hospital. Now, the details of the story are given on the website. We also know that there are a couple of strike action issues, one involving colleges of education and then some health facilities as well. The National Labour Commission is dealing with those matters. Now, there's a very interesting story I just want to pull out for you in the Parliament.
Okay.
Page 18 of the graphic says that Parliament has approved a loan to improve agriculture. The loan is to the tune of $52.2 million between Ghana, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, to finance the promoting of rural opportunities, sustainable profit, and environmental resilience. And this loan details are given on page 18 of the graphic.
Well, if you go to the front page of the Economic Times, just a few notes here. One, the government's fiscal operations for the first half of the year resulted in an overall budget deficit of 6.302 billion. And the BOG says it will continue to pursue policy solvency aimed at achieving price stability after the bank acted as the last shock absorber in the recent DDEP.
Okay, let's go foreign. If you go to page 13 of the Finder, Nigeria closes land border with Niger amid coup. Nigeria has announced the decision to close its land border with Niger due to the recent coup in Niger. Adewale Adenini, acting controller general of the Nigeria Customs Service, said the decision for the total blockade of the land border is to comply with the director of the Economic Community of West Africa.
Actually, there's a couple of stories on that. So, military intervention in Niger would lead to needless deaths. A group is cautioning ECOWAS. This story is on citynewsroom.com. It says the Pan-African movement, Africans Rising, has strongly condemned the recent military takeover in Niger. And then, but the same group emphasized the need for peaceful resolution and expressed agreement with the threat of military intervention currently issued by ECOWAS. Now, multiple websites are reporting that Niger's junta has shut their airspace, and they're saying that if anybody dares to come and cross them, they will deal with them. Now, let me read the BBC version. Niger's coup leaders have closed the country's airspace until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from their neighbors. Flight tracking website Flight Trade 24 is showing that there are currently no aircraft in Niger's skies. The West African group of countries, ECOWAS, we know, had warned last week that it could use force if President Mohamed Bazoum was not reinstated by 11 p.m. on Sunday. So that was last night. Junta spokesman says his Nigerian armed forces are ready to defend their country. Now, Mr. Bazoum was detained on July 26, and General Abdurrahman Tiani, commander of the Presidential Guard, later proclaimed himself new leader. The military takeover has been internationally condemned, including by 4 former colonial power France. Now, the other story here is that other military juntas in West Africa seem to support this coup. So the Burkina, the Malian, and I know about Burkina and the Malians. To an extent, Guinea has also... they are removed from the Sahel. So I don't know what but Burkina and Mali have said they support the coup, and they've said it's not a good idea for ECOWAS to intervene. ECOWAS last week met and gave the junta 1 week to hand over power. Which expired yesterday. Last night. So everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen. Yes. We will touch base with the ECOWAS Parliament to see what they have to say about this, and also some key analysts on the matter. But it's a very serious story. Indeed, there's a story I've seen that in one of the Nigerian websites, which is urging President Bola Tinubu not to be deceived into leading an ECOWAS intervention because it could lead to full-blown war in the Sahel region. They should go and remove their guys. They have no business usurping the authority, the mandate of the people. We should not encourage this.
But you also can't take actions that could be detrimental for the region.
I mean, what is detrimental? The people are misbehaving there. We should go and carry them out.
So does ECOWAS have a standing force?
No, they don't. It's something that is part of the...
So they will rally people to go and do this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all will contribute forces, to help do that. Of course, we were going to do it in Gambia, and the guy fled eventually. That agreed that he was not going to do it.
Okay, so there's a backdrop to this.
Oh, yeah.
So, but do you think does ECOWAS have the appetite to do this?
Well, from all the indications that we are receiving, it does seem that there's a plan being drawn by the various, to deal with this.
That would be new. Anyway, thank you, Sky. Thank you, Nathan. The business news is next. Stay with us. Hello, Ni.
Hello, Bernard. Good morning to you out there. Welcome to the breakfast edition of Citi Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN Goil and powered by your most comprehensive business news website, citybusinessnews.com. Coming up, government's assertion of turning the corner continues to be subjected to economic scrutiny by analysts who fear fiscal growth may not be achieved. Also, Chamber of Corporate Trustees to participate in the second round of DDEP involving pension funds as new offer meets expectations of members. I am Ni Lati. Details of our stories now. Financial analysts continue to question government's claim that Ghana's economy has turned a corner and is on the path to recovery. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, during the presentation of the 2023 mid-year budget review, said Ghana is making progress in turning the economy around after experiencing significant economic challenges. The minister stressed that the government's policies and programs are beginning to bear fruit, and he urged the public to recognize the key milestones reached in the last 3 years. But Joe Jackson, a financial analyst who doubles as the director of business strategy at Dalex Finance, insists critical challenges hitting the economy still linger, emphasizing the country's production issues, high inflation, mounting public debt, and lack of significant economic growth that may lead to a possible recession.
Inflation was projected to be 18% at the end of the year. It is now projected to be 31.3%. You have to ask yourself, is that a signal of turning the corner? Things are still very tough. And this city stability that we've seen is but for a season. One of the single biggest imports we have, which is fuel, but come this third quarter, seasonal increments will kick in place. We also know that the cuts in production are going to start biting. So the price is expected to go up. The dark clouds look ominous. We're talking about jobs for the people in the street. We have downgraded growth from what? 2.8% to 1.5%. How are jobs going to be created? One would even wonder whether in real terms we are not even in a recession. Interest rates. It's easy to talk that interest rates went from 12 to 36. We also know that by March, somewhere in March, interest rates had dropped, and our T-bill rates are back for the 365, they are back over 30. MPC rates have been trending upwards, are down at 30%. How is this economy going to grow? And the one that makes me saddest is the fact that we have downgraded our level of reserves, gross international reserves, from 3.3 months to 0.8 months. That's dire.
That's financial analyst and director of business strategy at Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson. Meanwhile, stakeholders in agriculture have expressed disappointment over what they describe as a failure on the part of the government to use the mid-year budget review to provide innovative ideas that will scale up food production in the country. According to these players, the current cost of food production has worsened the plight of farmers. One of such stakeholders is the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Its head of programs and advocacy is Dr. Charles Nyaba, and he's been speaking to Citi Business News.
I was totally disappointed because we all know the factors that are causing the negative performance of some of the indicators, the economic indicators. For instance, even though we recorded some improvement in some of the indicators, but when it comes to inflation, food price inflation was leading the basket with 54%. What was the essence or the objectives of planting for food and jobs? Was to ensure that we produce enough food for consumption to serve industry and to create more jobs. So if indeed planting for food and jobs is performing that role, how come our food price inflation is skyrocketing? So that is another argument that we need to look at. So what I was expecting to hear from the Minister of Finance is to come up with a radical steps that will ensure that we improve agriculture performance, to ensure that we increase food supply, and by that, food prices will come down. But what do we see in the mid-year budget? Nothing.
Dr. Charles Nyaba is head of programs and advocacy at the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Away from that, and the Chamber of Corporate Trustees has indicated its preparedness to participate in the alternative domestic debt exchange program being offered by the government of Ghana. This comes on the back of an earlier announcement by the Ministry of Finance for the restructuring of 31 billion Ghana cedis pension funds in the second phase of its domestic debt restructuring. According to the ministry, the exercise will affect the ESLA PLC and Dachik Trust PLC. In an interview with Citi Business News, the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Corporate Trustees, Thomas Kwesi Eso, noted that the new offer meets the objectives of members.
The Chamber also puts in a process to work with government so that we can all arrive at a situation that a result that will be beneficial to the pension contributors. And therefore, when we continue with the conversations, we actually have some objectives in mind to ensure that the new bond will be tradable, the new bond will not lose the patrimonial value that the old bonds had, and again, to ensure that the liquidity will always flow to the pensions industry. And since the new alternative offer to the pension fund scheme meets this objective, the Chamber thought it wise to give the green light to Board of Trustees to consider the proposal as has been enshrined in the exchange memorandum. So we think that this meets the Chamber's objectives, and therefore we give the green light for members to consider the terms and conditions.
Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Corporate Trustees, Thomas Kwesi Eso. Moving on, as part of moves to ensure investor confidence, the Securities and Exchange Commission has underscored the need for market players to harness emerging technologies to meet international competition. This, according to the Commission, will promote an efficient and transparent securities market. Here is the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Daniel Ugbami-Tete.
In our pursuit to integrate our markets, there lies a significant opportunity to leverage technology as a catalyst. By embracing technological advancements, we can enhance connectivity, drive efficiency, and streamline operations. Digital platforms and marketplaces provide centralized hubs for seamless trading and improved access to investment opportunities. Automation and digitization reduce manual errors and streamline processes, while blockchain and distributed ledger technology enhance transparency and security. By strategically harnessing technology, we can propel market integration, foster innovation, and build a resilient and future-ready market ecosystem.
That was the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Daniel Ugbami-Tete. Let's take you to the interbank foreign exchange markets now, where banks trade amongst themselves. The dollar remained unchanged and stayed at 11 cedis. The British pound also remained unchanged and is selling at 13 cedis 99 pesos. The euro remained unchanged also and is selling at 12 cedis. However, at some forex bureaus in the capital, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis 65 pesos, while the British pound is selling at 15 cedis 20 pesos. The euro could be sold to you at 12 cedis 75 pesos. Now, Gold Fields Ghana says it is on track to increase its efficiency and capacity in gold processing following the acquisition of the state-of-the-art comprehensive instrumentation rig, said to be one of its kind in Ghana and Africa's mining sector. Speaking at the commissioning of the instrumentation processing rig in Takwa, the head of Gold Fields West Africa, Joshua Mototi, said the acquisition of the over 450,000 euros high-tech rig marks another milestone for Gold Fields in its capacity enhancement.
Acquiring this state-of-the-art comprehensive instrumentation rig, one of its kind in Ghana and Africa, marks another milestone for Gold Fields. This is a major investment that takes the skills development of our employees a notch higher because it adds to our solid technical training modules, equipment, and infrastructure. The rig will offer intensive and practical training as it simulates real-world conditions in the process plant.
Joshua Mototi is the head of Gold Fields West Africa. Let's now join Mark Jordan Sikanati of DataBank for the latest on the stock market.
The stock market was active last week with a weekly turnover of 9.1 million Ghana cedis from the sale of 5.8 million shares. The price gainers were registered, comprising of Guinness Ghana, MTN Ghana, and Societe Generale. The market indices gained for the third consecutive week, with the GSE Composite Index adding 5.31% week on week to 3,127.43 points, with a year-to-date return of 27.97%. The DataBank Stock Index advanced 4.14% week on week to 121.59 points, with a year-to-date return of 15.44%. This week, we expect price gains in Fan Milk, Societe Generale and Standard Chartered Bank due to strong demand for their shares.
That was Mark Jordan Sikanati of Databank with the latest on the stock market. And that does it for the breakfast edition of Citi Business News, proudly brought to you by MTN Goil and powered by our most comprehensive business news website, Citi Newsroom, citibusinessnews.com. My name is Ni Lati. Do you have a good business day?
This is why you go. So we are from Ghana. The guy say, "Oh, Ghana, Abedipele." You do, oh, Charlie. Abedipele is popular in Morocco.
Exactly.
You know. Kickoff is next, but before that, MTN is proud to associate with Citi Business News. Apply to be a Momo merchant. Simply dial star 5051 hash, fill the prompts, apply online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh. You will receive a reference number which you can use to track your application. Report any fraudulent charges using the Momo app, available on Play Store and the App Store. And Goal is also proud to be associated with the business news. Our Super XP on 95 and Diesel XP are the best quality fuels on the market. We have over 440 stations across the nation. Join the family that rewards you with quality for an energized driving experience. Gabi Ofe is already in the house. Kickoff is brought to you by Leshehui. That's the spirit, man. And so the sport news is next. Stay with us.
All right, hello and welcome on board to Kickoff here on Citi 97.3 FM. In the headlines, Black Stars deputy captain Thomas Partey wins his first major silverware with Arsenal.
Fabio Vieira to win the Community Shield for the Gunners. Emphatic! Arsenal win the Community Shield for the 17th time. The 7th time since 2000. Manchester City have thrown it away. They've lost their third shield.
All right, Arsenal winning the Community Shield for the 17th time, moving them into second place behind Manchester United in the all-time tally. Also coming up,
look at the performance of the African female teams in the World Cup and tell me, why is Ghana not there? When women's football started, it was in Africa, it was basically Ghana and Nigeria. Today, Morocco is at the World Cup.
All right, more from Edwin Nilante Vanderpoel in a bit. We have these plus the latest in the world of transfers with me, Gabi Ofe. All right, so let's start off with this, where former sports minister Edwin Nilante Vanderpoel has bemoaned the retrogression of women's football in Ghana. Now, his comments come on the back of the Black Queens missing out on the ongoing Women's World Cup in New Zealand and Australia. The Queens, currently managed by Nora Hopto, have won all 5 games and face Rwanda next in the upcoming Women's African Cup of Nations qualifiers in September.
Look at the performance of the African female teams in the World Cup and tell me, why is Ghana not there? When women's football started, it was in Africa, it was basically Ghana and Nigeria. Today, Morocco is at the World Cup. Zambia is at the World Cup. That should tell you that there are some people doing certain things right and we are not. Morocco, who by their culture and tradition, women are not even supposed to be exposed to such things. They are now adopting football, they are playing football and they qualified for the World Cup. The first time we qualified for the World Cup in 1999, the Women's World Cup 1999. From there, it's expected that we will have regular appearance at the World Cup. Nigeria, who we qualified with, have regularly been there. This is about their ninth appearance at the World Cup. What have we done? So what it means is that we are going back. And other countries who hitherto were not even giving any attention to women's football are today beating us, qualifying for the World Cup. It raises question. It means we are not doing certain things right.
All right, so that's Ghana's former sports minister Edwin Nilante Vanderpoel speaking to City Sports. Then, speaking of the Women's World Cup, the USA suffered their earliest ever exit at the Women's World Cup losing 5-4 on penalties to Sweden after a goalless 120 minutes. The Netherlands marched into the quarterfinals with a 2-0 win over South Africa in Sydney. Later today at 7:30 a.m., just a few minutes away, England take on Nigeria. Then 10:30 a.m. we'll see Australia up against Denmark in the Women's World Cup. Now, wait from that to some local football stories where former Black Stars goalkeeper Samir Jay has joined Ghana Premier League side Dreams FC as their goalkeepers trainer. Samir Jay, he's revered as one of the best to have come out of Ghana after helping Hearts of Oak to 6 league titles, one CAF Champions League in 2000 and the CAF Super Cup. And so his new club, Dreams FC, have been paired against Guinea outfit Milo FC in the CAF Confederations Cup first round in that game there. Now to boxing, where a president of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Nikwe Kote, has expressed optimism about the successful expansion of the Ghana Boxing League to regions beyond Greater Accra. Now, the GBA has been lauded for the revival of the Boxing League in Greater Accra after a 16-year break.
We are already in Volta region now. The last time we were also in Sunyani as well. So we are moving. We are working closely with the Honorable Minister, and then we are moving. It will take it won't be like what we see in Accra, but we've moved to Volta region, we moved to Sunyani, and we will be going to the other regions.
All right, so that's President of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Abraham Nikwe Kote, speaking there. Now to England, where Arsenal beat Manchester City 4-1 on penalties to claim the Community Shield at Wembley. Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri messed in the shootout after Leandro Trossard had equalised. Cole Palmer's strike in the 101st minutes of normal time. Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Jurgen Timber all started for the Gunners as Mateo Kovacic made his competitive debut for City as Premier League's top two. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta indicated it feels great to win the Community Shield.
It's great. I don't think it gets much better than winning a trophy in Wembley against the best team in the world and doing it the way we've done it. So really encouraging. I think we had some great moments in the game, especially in the first half with 3 massive chances. But unfortunately, when you don't put them away, you know what can happen. And we had a little error in midfield and don't clear the ball, and the next second the ball is in the back of the net, and then it's a very difficult game to play. But I think we made the right choices. The changes helped, the formation change helped, and we kept some, we believe, and we kept some momentum there and allowed to win the game, the goal and then the penalties.
All right, so that's Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta speaking there after he guided his side to a 7th Community Shield title. Now, good time to hear from Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola following his side's defeat on penalties against the Gunners.
Congratulate Arsenal, it's football. Sometimes win, sometimes lose. We did it. So congratulate my opponent, and time to celebrate it. And yeah, just prepare. What can I say? So we're Manchester City, are a good team, but sometimes you lose competitions and games. So I want to say something. The exceptional is win the treble. This is exceptional.
All right, so that's Manchester City's gaffer Pep Guardiola speaking there. For some preseason results, Facundo Pellistri scored a stoppage-time equalizer as United finished preseason with a 1-0 draw against Athletic Bilbao in Dublin. Nico Williams gave Bilbao the lead in the first half following Harry Maguire's mistake. And United manager Erik ten Hag expressed satisfaction with the development of young players in the squad as he reflected on the 2023 preseason.
We have to give them an opportunity, but then they have to take it. And yeah, they are brave, and that is what I like. Be brave, play football. So show yourself. If you want to play in the first team, then you have to take responsibility in and out of possession. And yeah, those young guys are doing. And yeah, I'm happy with their development. Such games like this one. Also last week against Dortmund, we had that game against Wrexham. That is so valuable for the young players. From those games, they learn and they improve a lot.
All right, so that's Manchester United's gaffer, Erik ten Hag, reflecting on 2023 pre-season games. Now to some other results where Harry Kane scored 4 times after being named as captain for Tottenham in their pre-season friendly against Shakhtar Donetsk on a Sunday after scoring 4 goals in Spurs' 5-1 win. Kane was substituted to a standing ovation from the Spurs fans. Bayern have believed that they have offered Tottenham reported €100 million due for Kane, with a deadline over the weekend to get the deal for the striker finalized. Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou has been speaking on the future of Harry Kane.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, from my perspective, I don't know what deadlines means. We know there's one deadline. That's the end of the transfer window. Beyond that, I think. Look, I'm in open dialogue with Harry and the club on a regular basis. I've said to them, if the status quo changes, then inform me. I don't need to know about the sort of comings and goings in between, because I just want to deal with what's in front of me, because I'm still, irrespective of the outcome of that, I'm still building a team here, and I can't wait for a decision either way to get going, because, we don't have the time or the luxury to do that. So, I'm working with what's in front of me, and you saw today that Harry's certainly invested in what we're doing, and, we'll keep doing that unless something changes.
All right, so that's Spurs boss Ange Postecoglou speaking there. Now let's touch on some selected results from the preseason games. Napoli were 1-0 winners over Augsburg. Newcastle United, they thumped Villarreal by 4-0. Borussia Dortmund beat Ajax by 3-1. And Mohamed Kudus featured for Ajax as they lost to the German side. Speaking of Kudus, the reports are that Brighton and Hove Albion have reached an agreement in principle with Ajax to sign the Ghanaian midfielder. So we'll see how this transfer story pans out. Kylian Mbappe has also been asked to train away from Paris Saint-Germain's main team as his contract dispute with the club continues. Elsewhere in the MLS, Lionel Messi's stunning brace helped Inter Miami seal a dramatic victory against FC Dallas to reach the quarterfinals of the League Cup. They won 4-2 with 10 minutes left, but 2 goals took the game to penalty shootout, and they won by 5-3 at the Toyota Stadium in Texas. So good one for Lionel Messi and his Inter Miami side. That's a wrap here on Kickoff. For more stories, you can head to citisportsonline.com and on Twitter at citisportsgha. Kickoff was proudly brought to you by Shell and Lachelle. We're back later at 5 p.m. with Sports Flash, and then at 10 p.m. on Citi TV, there's a City Sports Roundup with Nathan Carl. My name is Gabi Ofer. Take care of yourself and bye-bye.
Carl, if you can give me that voice, it was just incredible. God should help her to pass, and then she said she just wanted a grade 10. They even asked her what she wanted to get. So I want a grade 10. That God should help me to pass, and I'm not going to let my family down because they've struggled to bring me this far. And this is a teenager.
Wow. Maybe, staying in this part of Accra.
Yeah, and this is a public school. Yeah. So I was very impressed. Sometimes when we talk about the educational system and we complain about all the ills, sometimes we also forget that we've done very well, because last year we had 500,000 people writing BEC. This year we have 600,000. So last year and this year, 1.1 million of our young people at least have had a basic education. Yes, we know that the quality may not be the best, but sometimes you need to celebrate that, because there are many countries where people are out of school.
Yeah, but you see, the reality is also that a lot of the young people I get to engage these days, many are neither in secondary school or have not continued to university after either JSS or SSS. So they are.
It's called NEET, not in education, employment, or training. That's a phenomenon that is being captured better now. You are right, because because of the free SHS, the initial benefit was that now parents have no excuse for boys and girls not to continue. In fact, I heard a story last week where there were twins who had to be sent to school and the family didn't have money, and they chose to rather send the girls to school, and they said the boys should learn a trade. My point is, now that SSS is free, if you're a parent who doesn't even have money, you can force and send the child. Because in the past, when you send the child to GSS, you can't pay for SS. Okay. So I think we need to look at the data. The data for the NEET was 15% of people between age 15 and 20 something. But we don't know the previous year's data. So we don't know whether we are doing better or doing worse. Which is why I'm not sure if I want to push that angle. But for me, if you have 600,000 people writing BEC today, 500,000 writing BEC last year, that's a sizable chunk of that population. So for countries around our sub-region, that's very good.
The question is, have we been able to accommodate all of them in the various schools? No.
So there are 18,000, so that's the point. There are 18,000 junior high schools, private and public. SHSs are probably
way less,
a tenth of that.
So how many universities do we have?
So you see how it goes. So 18K. In fact, Caleb, find for me how many SHSs we have. But if you have 18,000 JSS, you probably would need at least half of that SSSs. Or maybe no, maybe a third. Or if you add technical schools, I don't know. We need to do the ratios. But the point is that there are a lot of people coming out who may not necessarily proceed because parents say they don't have money. And I'm saying that the government has removed the we don't have money component, which is the free SHS. And I think they want to do free TVET if they're not doing it already, and free technical school. So I want to urge parents listening to me to push. All right? If you're an orange seller, you are whatever. I know things are difficult. There's a lot of poverty in the country. But I'm urging you to push those guys to go to school, because if they do well, SS is available. SS is possible. And if a child gets SSS education, they are useful. They are more useful than if you don't have an education to society. So I think the challenge for the next leader who takes after this government is to make sure the free SHS works and make sure that basic education, which has been neglected, gets a boost. Find a way of incentivizing, because one of the problem is that a lot of the basic schools are charging different hidden fees because they are not getting their monies. So the next government, or indeed this government, needs to deal with the issue of basic education to find a way of getting parents to be plugged in. You're right. What's the number?
What I have here is 1,182 senior high schools in Ghana.
Take your time. 1,182
senior high schools.
And you have 18,000 basic schools.
This was as of 2021, according to a register of the GES pulled off by one of the websites.
So 1,118.
Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, 1118, and then you have 18K. So it's even less than 10%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what
Look, I don't know the optimum ratio, so I'm not in a position to comment whether it's enough or. Do you have a breakdown of that 1118 into boarding day, regional?
No, what I have here on Ghana Web is that according to the Minister for Education, Ghana has 1,200 senior high schools. Only 54 of these institutions are Category A schools. And then it goes on to provide some details of below a complete list of the Grade A schools and mentions their names.
Okay, we are not really interested in Grade A or Grade B, whatever. What we're interested in is just having a school. All right. So I had a data somebody sent to me which pointed to the number of SHSs and the number of candidates. The 600,000 candidates. For the first time since records started, the number of girls is higher than the number of boys. And then they also give the breakdown of the invigilators and the number of center supervisors, the number of BC centers. Oh, where is this data? I'm just looking for it. I'll find it shortly. So sending love and wishes, good wishes to all our BC candidates.
Yeah, remember that lonely walk, man.
Oh, you also did, eh? and 600,714 candidates in total. 300,323 boys, 300,391 girls, 18,983 schools, 18,000, so circa 19,000 JSSs. Number of examination centers 2,137. Number of supervisors 2,137. Number of assistant supervisors 2,000. Number of invigilators 21,027. So it's a little over one invigilator per school. But for the centers, they have a lot more, like 10 invigilators per center. So that's really good. So the figure 600,000 is about 500. Is about 49,000 more than last year. So if you add last year to this year, it's 1.1 million. So the SHSs are 1,200. So it means for there's one SHS for every 10 GSS, which is not that bad.
Is it?
Which is not that bad. If you have am I calculating this in wrongly? If you have 1,900 JSSs and then 19,000 JSS,
yes,
and then 1,200 JSS, SSS. So it's like 1 to 10. So for every 10 JSS, there's one SSS. Yes.
Well, okay, fine. I can't seem to calculate.
Yeah. Because it's like, okay, I'm basically saying, so you have like, because I'm approximating the 1,900 to 2,000.
Fine.
And then I think I'm making a mistake. Yes, I'm making a mistake. 1,200 is not 110. Yeah, Charlie, clearly my BC wasn't that great. But the point I'm making is that and I don't even think so. I think what we need to do is to calculate the capacity of the SHSs.
Yes.
So the PRESEC has 5,400 students. All right. So if
that's not the average.
And that's not the average
population.
Yeah, PRESEC is high.
Yes, PRESEC is higher than the average.
So the average
will be about 3K.
3K. So let's take St. Mary's.
Yes.
If you have like 3K students, that means St. Mary's will be sorting out about 10 schools, 10 JSS. But a JSS has about 40 students on average in a class. So,
and you don't know how many JSS classes there are.
So it means that there will be about 4. So if there are 10 JSS, it's a bit complicated. The schools need more capacity. So that will be 400.
Yes.
So it means that St. Mary's will need more space. So either more classrooms, more teachers, or more dormitories.
Or you collapse the boarding system and then just put everything through day and use the boarding houses for purposes of accommodating more students coming in.
Or you also charge for the boarding. So that's alternative one. Alternative is charge for the boarding so that those who want to do it will do it. Make majority of the students day so that you still have enough space. Good. Because if you made boarding for only those who are really, really far, so maybe that's like, I don't know, 10%. Or I think the most sensible thing is, okay, let's phase out boarding over 10 years. Okay. And let's say that every year we'll reduce boarding by 15%.
But what does that mean for somebody who is in Accra and wants to attend?
That's why you are phasing it out. So like, so let's assume.
So the alternative policy will be what? So now you create more schools in people's home regions.
See, let's assume we are in 2023, right? Let's assume you have a son in class 6. He will be in SHS in 4 years.
4 years, yes.
Good. Let's assume he wants to go to Infantipim school and he lives in Accra. Infantipim probably has space for, I don't know, 3,000 boarders. If they are reducing that by
3,000 boarders,
3,000 students, so maybe 1,800 boarders. If they are reducing that by 15 or 20% every year, by the time your child in class 6 gets to Kwabutwe, he will be part of maybe only 25% of boarders in the school, which means that you have saved enough money for him to go, because in 4 years, boarding will be more expensive. If he wants to do free SHS, he should go to PRESEC because he lives in Medina and walk to school. Do you get it? And then if you feel strongly about the Infantipim College, you are in 2023, you are planning in 4 years, you can migrate him to go and live with an uncle in Cape Coast.
So what if you don't have family there?
So you look for another school. You won't die if you don't go to.
I get it. That's why I was saying that. Then it means that it's not only one policy approach that solves it, because you need a mix of different things. So that's why, for example, some people would say then the concept of the day school would help. So maybe you amplify or you increase the number of day schools so that people have the option of attending school in their home region. So the stress on the boarding system is lowered. Yeah. Okay. But then you also, like you're saying, you have to create something to accommodate those who still want to go out of their home region.
Yeah. So scrapping is not the answer, I agree with you, but it's a policy that can. I think the challenge we have is money to fund for boarding. Boarding is expensive.
Even the truth is, if you were to scrap or phase out, as you were saying, the boarding system, the private sector is almost always creative enough to not only create the plan, but
Mhm.
to find the resources to
Mhm.
build, alternative accommodation.
Yes.
In which case you will see around these schools people with the land and the capacity to build will put up hostels that can absorb
that is true
these students.
But that also comes with, again, its own challenge.
You don't want,
Maybe that's a different challenge.
you don't want an SHS student to live in a hostel.
Yes, all by
so
themselves.
What you want is either they are at home to be supervised to go to school, or they are in a boarding school
Where
to be
they are
supervised in
teachers.
school.
Yes.
A hostel, particularly for girls, is not a good thing.
A hostel that will be properly policing that which they do and do not do. So it will be a model that is just similar to the boarding house, except that now you have a private person manning it, running it. So he has security people, or she has security people who monitor when the girls go out, when they come in, when the boys go out, when they come in.
Keeping an eye on teenagers, I think, extends beyond just watching what time they go. You are dealing with all kinds of
when it comes
behavior,
to
traits, conduct.
when it comes to SHS, if you are at home, your parents know you are going to school, and you close, you go classes, and you come home. Of course, they can't legislate everything you do. If you're in a boarding school, school gatherings is the way to manage that. As we speak, school gatherings are not working because the students are more than the assembly ground. So if a student chooses to go and eat at Boise during dining, you can't punish the student. So the boarding house system is already under strain. All right. So between saying scrap it, which is a knee-jerk reaction, because we have realized that the cost for free SHS, a lot of it is in the boarding, I think you can de-emphasize it. De-emphasize it in a sense that you can use, like in some countries, you choose schools around where you live. I know that in Ghana, the schools are not distributed like that, but you can start that way. Then you can also bring cost barriers into boarding. You can simply say, government is paying for your secondary school education as a day student. If you want to go to boarding, we'll pay only 50%. So that could be a start. Right? So you don't scrap it entirely. You can say, okay, boarding house can be, in fact, you can even say 75% boarding, government pays, 25% parent. Then in 3 years, it will be 50-50. Then in 8 years, it will be 75 parent, 20 for government. Do you get it? My point is that in Ghana, when we get tired of something, we want to change it immediately. But in a lot of the societies that we admire, they phase these things out and they give you the chance to plan. So if you're a parent who has kids in class 4, class 5, class 6, you know that in 10 years' time, you are going to pay 25% of boarding fee as your contribution. So you start preparing for it. Then the schools too have a system of managing. So I think it shouldn't be that complicated. The only problem is that because of politics, we emphasize difference. So when people will say, well, we did free SHS, NDC wants to spoil it. NDC will say, we said that they were rushing, they spoiled the secondary education, so free SHS is bad. So between the two extreme positions, the truth is somewhere within the middle, okay? Which is where policy comes in, media and co, to let people know that, look, this is the future of our kids we are dealing with. Yes, free SHS could have been staggered, but it is what it is. It is there, okay? You don't have to throw away the baby with the bath water. And I feel like we need to have a conversation between the NAT, the teachers, the government, the politicians to say, okay, let's bring about alternative proposals for making free SHS sustainable. And you've given about 2 or 3 here. And I don't think it's rocket science. Sky, there are people who are in Ghana who are paying upwards of $5,000 a term for secondary education. It's a small majority, it's a small minority, but they have the money to pay. There are parents who can pay 1,000 cedis a term. Some can pay 2,000. Okay, if they can pay, they shouldn't be getting it for free. So that the government can find those who can pay and give it to them. So it's a difficult work to do, but I feel there's nothing worthwhile which is easy. Okay, so we really want to urge social forces, trade union, teacher unions, media, political parties to approach the future of basic and secondary education from a data-driven perspective, not from an emotional perspective. Okay, let's not leave let's not cede the space to NDC and PP. So you notice that a lot of times when I'm doing programs on education on TV, I hardly will bring only MPP and NDC. Because if you bring them, they will pull the issue to its extremes. But if you bring Kofi Asari, you bring concerned parent, you bring Angel Kabonu, in addition to the politicians, not into the exclusion of them. Because this is a national discussion. I'm happy we heard Professor Aite today say, the answer is not in scrapping. And I agree with him. Boarding house has its purpose. But in the current format, it's not sustainable. Yes. Okay. And I think one of the things Ghanaian society needs to learn is that you can criticize something without meaning you hate the thing. You can criticize something without it meaning you want the thing to be destroyed. So the fact that I'm criticizing the way the thing is being implemented doesn't mean I'm a naysayer. In the same way, you can be for something and still ask for it to be a better. So you can be a member of cabinet who believes free SHS is great, but still think that it must not continue in its current form. All right? And I think that the future of Ghana's politics depends on this type of consensus around thorny issues that if we allow politics alone to drive, if we leave it to just parliament, they won't do it because parliament is very partisan. So when you give it to the parliament, all the minority members on the committee will go one side, majority goes one side. It doesn't work. So the answer is not in parliament. The answer is in consensus around a national conversation, a national educational. And I want to appeal personally to the education minister. I'll tell you something. I was at an event, and this is my last comment, an event last week, EdTech event, EdTech Monday.
Yeah.
Educhum was there. Ska, you hardly get an education minister who is loved by people within the sector in terms of when he speaks, they really hear, they get him. Do you understand? He speaks the language of education. And a lot of people in the room, even though some of his policies may not necessarily they agree with, he gets what they want. Okay. I want to appeal to him to put the partisanship aside and convene a national stakeholder forum on education to discuss the future of secondary and basic education. People will come. Trust me, former vice chancellors will come, former educational ministers will come, former directors of GS will come. In fact, the man who spoke at the recent program Citi brought live, Professor Isuman, he gave some very interesting ideas about education. All right? He's a priest at the Methodist Church. The churches will come. The mosques will come.
Yeah.
I think if the education minister convenes a national stakeholder forum on education and says, for the first time, I want to get ideas on how we can make this thing work, even before elections, so that we don't make this thing become part of election football, he will succeed. But I'm sure that people listen to me and say, oh, don't mind these people. We have a record. They are the naysayers. So let's push our record in education. You see, they will deceive you to think that all is well with education, therefore push that in voting. You have how many months to end office? We are in July, August, right? So, Kwata 2024, even if the MPP wins, you may not be education minister again. So you have 14 months to make a legacy. How many schools can you build? So I think your greatest legacy will be to put free SHS on this sound footing by calling a stakeholder forum, listening to everybody, call NDC, call MPP, call CPP, take notes, go to the president and say, Mr. President, after the stakeholder forum, these are the top 3 proposals. Call the World Bank. These are the top 3 proposals to make free SHS sustainable. Can cabinet consider it? That's leadership. People say, oh, go and build some school in Bosom Tree, STEM school here, do this. Those things, they will give you funds, but after 10 years, nobody will remember. If you really want to be remembered as the man who changed education, because this is the first minister who has come on TV to solve equations, he speaks, he likes it, he's an educationist. Despite all the issues, everything he said in that room, people understood it because he's an education champion. He shouldn't waste such stature as a minister in pursuing partisan projects. It will not help him, honestly. And I'm saying this to him as somebody who admires him, that, Mr. Minister, call a national stakeholder forum on education. NAGRAT is willing. All the people are willing to listen to you. And when you go for that meeting, give the opening remark and listen to them speak for the whole day and pick out the best ideas and send it to cabinet. I'm telling you, it will work. That's my humble suggestion to you. You can decide to take it. If you won't take it, to remove. Later in the morning, we'll be talking to the Ghana Bar Association, their professional body. There are issues to be discussed, but it's time for tech and social media trends. All right, now FBN Bank is happy to be associated with tech and social media trends. And through the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, you can now send and receive money to and from Nigeria, Liberia, and the Gambia. Yeah, so this is part of the PAPS. Yeah. And this is a very important part of our advancement towards AFTA. And you can call 059 69 21 921 to make PAPS work. So if you are listening to me in Sierra Leone, send me money by PAPS just to prove that it can work. Or in Gambia or like Nigeria, just send me something. Something small for the weekend. And the segment is also brought to us by Vodafone. The Odemu promo is getting exciting. Buy airtime or bundle worth up to 5 cedis or more. Receive up to 20% cash back on your Vodafone cash wallet. If you can participate in the Odemu Dance Challenge, you can also win some prizes from Samsung, like a phone or earbud. Keep reloading in the Odemu promo and win big. So Nathan has the segment.
Well, yeah, following the weekend's exertions in the community shoot, you can imagine that football-related trends are high up, the ladder. Thomas Partey is trending, Kevin De Bruyne is trending, Ben White is trending, Kieran Tierney is trending. The MLS season pass with a pink goat is also trending. So several things. So Lionel Messi scoring for fun in the US, so that's also trending. The community show happened yesterday. And for those who were at the Citi FM launch of our Premier League coverage, many thanks for showing up. We really appreciate that. So those are some of the things trending. Outside that...
So the commentary starts on Friday?
Yes, Friday night. Burnley versus Man City.
The Man City captain, former captain
is Burnley's manager.
As Chris will say, I'm a basso.
And he's facing his former boss.
If they say so, do you understand?
They go score you play.
No, you see, when you are playing
Alikoto,
when they say so, they bring your hand.
The guy.
Burnley basso.
Anyway, hashtag Accra to London.
Yeah.
Trending. People at Wanderlust started their journey from Accra to London. People were wondering how would that be possible. They arrived in London and they were brilliant.
After how many days? 15 days?
About 15 or so.
Wonderful.
Crossing continents.
And they've been planning this thing for close to a year.
Yes. So apparently they did several road trips in Ghana to start to build, just to understand.
I know a lot of the guys on that trip. They've been planning this thing, and even they're putting the social cause, and it's a marketing tool for Ghana as well.
Yeah, it is. It was on the BBC.
They recounted a story where when they got to Morocco,
it's Heritage Caravan on steroids.
They got to Morocco,
and
they had a flag on, and then they said a police officer walked to them and asked them, "Where are you guys from?" Said from Ghana. They said, Abedi Pele.
Abedi Pele, the superstar.
And the policeman said, just give me a minute. He came back, drew his bike, and gave them a convoy.
Yeah. Wow. So when they come back, they come and greet Abedi Pele.
Because
Abedi Pele got them escorts.
One true ambassador.
I tell you.
Anyway, so some tech news, and Zoom is in the news today. Now they have told employees to return to the office for the first time since COVID. Now Zoom is saying
Zoom.
Yeah.
They say what?
Employees who live within 50 miles of a company office need to return for in-person work for at least 2 days a week on a hybrid shift.
The remote work revolution is officially over.
It's over.
If the number one service provider in the space is asking people to come back to work,
it's over. It's just facing.
Oh, Zoom is not zooming.
So they're saying that people should come back now.
But you know what's interesting?
2 days a week.
How Zoom? There's a lot of things. There's Microsoft.
Google Hangout.
There's Google there's Microsoft Teams. Okay. But somehow Zoom seems to have become the generic name.
Yeah, I mean, during the COVID, it just exploded in a big way. And everybody.
Such a powerful tool.
That's right. Just big.
Church services, parliamentary sessions, vettings.
Everything.
Oh, beautiful.
So you did mention Skype and Teams. Those tools were there, but Zoom
just zoomed to the lead. But Zoom said they should come back to work.
But at least two days a week. And if you live within 50 miles of a company office. So those are the caveats.
Zoom is not zooming. We're going to tell you who the top 50 entries are. And then we'll let you know when they can come for the aptitude test as we proceed with the very exciting literacy challenge, which will end with a quiz competition. But for the laundry drop-off, the grocery pickup, lunch sit-down, or tank fill-up, when asked cash or card? It's always card for me. I switch from cash to card for all my payments with MasterCard. Mark your calendars for an incredible event on the 12th of August. All Toyota Ghana branches in Accra and Tema offering free vehicle diagnosis for all Toyota and Lexus models. Join us for a day filled with exciting offers, including affordable oil change using your Toyota genuine motor oil, thorough 60-point inspection, free diagnostics, discounted genuine Toyota spare parts and lubricants, vehicle valuation for a trade-in or cashback deal, and Toyota Global Airbag Recall Campaign inspections. Happening at all branches in Accra and Tema. Call 0302-429-8015. So what does wealth mean to you? Remember, who's got the moolah, got the power. Ghana's newest lottery game draws live on Adom TV, 9 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. every day. Pick up your phone, tablet, and computers and download the Game Park Games app on Play Store. You can also go to gameparkgames.com by dialing *946# on all networks. Choose from 4 numbers, 0 to 9. Easy to play, easy to win. This game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority, not for persons under 18. Play responsibly.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, is informing the general public that property rate bills for all MMDAs are available electronically on portal.myassembly.gov.gh. Now, all rate payers are advised to log in and use their phone numbers to validate their properties, view bills, and pay electronically using Momo debit, credit cards, bank transfer, and checks. There must be no cash payment whatsoever to anybody. If you want more information, get in touch with the GRA on 0302 756 820 986 968 for further enquiries. Now, Sukasa is a brand that echoes the sound of hope and reassurance. The Sukasa Ograntin Community's affordable luxury project is a radical revelation of a tenable solution to easy accessibility and affordability of housing demands by all and sundry. So speak to Sukasa. They've got 3-bedroom units with outhouses and 4-bedroom units with outhouses. Yeah, at East Legon Hills, Ayi Mensa, and future destination targets at Pokwase, Amrahia, Shalibuche, and other regions. Call them on 030-296-0865 or 055-369-7886, or get to them on social at Sukasa GH. Sukasa, building on trust. Experience true convenience with a Zenith, Visa, or MasterCard today. Conveniently shop online, make payments at retail outlets locally and internationally, and effect transactions on ATMs here in Ghana and abroad, all with your Zenith, Visa, or MasterCard. Don't just hear about it, experience it. Get your Zenith, Visa, or MasterCard today at any Zenith Bank branch and experience the true convenience of card payment. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. Now step into success with the Accra Business School. Boost your career with our prestigious MSc degrees from KNUST. Pick from HRM, Communication and International Marketing, International Relations, Public Affairs, or IT Management. And in just 12 months, you have your MBA. Get in touch with the Accra Business School on abs.edu.gh or call 0263 888 555 or 0263 888 666. Let Accra Business School elevate your future today.
17 minutes past 8. Let's talk about something. Before I do that, I want to inspire you up your course. So before I hear from you on the winners, here's the BC candidate speaking over the weekend from a school in, I think this is Wager.
I'm really determined because we're from that poor area and we are really determined to work hard to win the BEC because we don't want to stress our parents because they've wasted lots of money. So we want to make them proud. So for me, when I started the mock, I wasn't stressed at all because it's helping yourself so that God will help you. The grade I want to get is grade 10 in my family. We don't get that opportunity to go to JHS and pass. And I'm really sure, for me, I always pray to God that if I'll get a scholarship, I'll really be grateful to Him because my family suffered a lot. And I don't want to shame them or disgrace them. I really want to give them hope. So for me to get this opportunity for to talk, what I'll say is that, guys out there, learn hard.
Guys out there, learn hard. Well, not only should you learn hard, write well, speak clearly, think thoroughly, and win a great prize. The Literacy Challenge is our offer to JHS students. So as they write BC today, we have some good news, which is funny because a lot of them will be writing today.
Right.
So they'll probably get home and be told by their mother or dad that, Charlie, your name was mentioned on Citi.
Well, that's for the Form 3s.
Yes,
The Form 3s
for those who are in
in
Form 1 or
this.
Form 2.
Yes.
All right. So what are we looking at?
So we're announcing the top 50 of the Literacy Challenge.
Ooh.
And for anyone who has just been basing beneath a rock and doesn't know what the Literacy Challenge is, it's Citi FM and Citi TV's national literacy competition. Why literacy? You know, a lot of people have asked me that, and I said it's actually a 360 thing. You know, where we've gone past the time where we say when you're literate, you know how to read and write. You need to be literate about everything around you, so that you can make your mark in society and on the globe. So the first level of the challenge, we ask people to write an essay, and this year the topic was very simple. We said you should write a story in not less than 600 words. So at least 600 words. You could do more. And people did 1,002 and things. Charlie Bernard, many researchers. Okay, and then the topic is this. So you're writing a story and it has to end with a statement. The happiest people do not have the best of everything. They make the best of everything they have.
That was the topic.
That was the topic.
Nice one.
And look, people... You know, when
People
you have
wrote it from
topics,
different
they
angles.
did. Some people spoke about Greek. Some people took the poverty angle, the socioeconomic angle. Some people are really just philosophical about it. Some people had fun with it. But it just tells you that Ghana's JHS students are young people. They're very deep thinkers. And we can't sit on that kind of gold. We need to nurture it. And the Literacy Challenge is one of the ways that we are trying to do that.
So we give them the chance to write this essay, and we got how many essays?
It was over 3,000.
Too many.
Too many. Look, our examiners, I know we stressed them out because we gave them just about 2 weeks to mark everything, you know, but they came through as usual. And now we have our top 50.
Wow.
And level 2 of the Literacy Challenge involves a written aptitude test. So you come to a test center. I'll mention that after I've named the top 50. You come, you sit, and it's a general knowledge test.
Okay.
There's some scientific knowledge in there. There's numeracy in there.
Wow.
There's verbal aptitude in there. There's current affairs. 100 multiple choice questions.
All right.
1.5 hours, you and the paper. And then from there, if you ace it, you have the chance to
be in
make it to the top 10.
in the final quiz.
That's right.
Competition. All right. So this was a national competition.
It was.
We got entries from all
was.
over the country.
We did. We received entries from 14 regions.
14
out of the
regions.
16. Yes.
14 out of 16.
14 out of 16.
So every region apart from which ones?
Every region apart from, we didn't get from the Bono region, and we didn't get from Oti.
Bono and Oti.
Yes, Bono and Oti.
We have to go there and speak to them.
We do.
The Honorable John Oti Bless.
What is going on with
We
you?
didn't get from Bono, we didn't get from Oti.
All right. So let's get into the list. The
Okay.
top. So these people are the top 50.
The top 50.
We will know the top 10 after the aptitude test.
Exactly.
So it means these guys are on the same level.
They're all on the same level.
Top 50. So
Top
this is no
50.
particular order.
No particular order.
All right, let's go through.
Okay, so we have Faith Sishope Avopodi from Dadrin School Complex in the Western region.
All right.
Okay, then we have Agbenohevi Road at Semefa,
For
the
beef.
Little Way RCJHS in the Northern region. Maybe Richard Sky can tell us why.
Agbenohevi?
We have heavy.
Is
it living bed?
Yeah. They will always come further someday.
Heavy road at Semefa from the Little Way RC in the north.
The northern region.
Wonderful.
Yes. Then we have Kote Ade Alberta from Ofako MA Basic D JHS in the central region.
Okay.
Selena Madenka, Prestia Methodist Basic School, Western region.
Okay.
Abigail Imba, Prestia Methodist Basic School as well, Western region. Mary Enyunam Maoli, Air Force Complex Basic School, Western region.
All right.
Adelaide Aka, Air Force Complex Basic School, Western region.
Wow.
Divine, or is it Divine? I guess Divine. Divine. Yambefare Ambalaku Leadership Community School, Upper West Region.
Yambefare.
Yes,
Ambalaku. Leadership Community School, Upper West Region.
That's right.
All right.
Reginald Nimale Oko, Air Force Complex Basic School, Western Region. Again from the Air Force Complex Basic School, Papa Kweku Ankoma,
Western Region.
Western Region.
Okay.
Blessing Ifia Otu, Child Care International School, Central Region.
All right.
David Aseda Yusuf, Pentecost Preparatory School, Savannah Region.
Wow.
Marvin Kofi Bwedi, Awaso Academy International, Western. So this is Western North, actually.
Western North.
Western
Awaso,
North,
yes,
because
Western
it's from
North.
Sefi Awaso.
Yes.
And Western North.
Okay.
Inshira Nomafo International School of Ahafo in the Ahafo region.
Inshira Nomafo.
That's right. Abba Kwejirba Bafo. Allswell Academy in the Central region.
All right.
We have Trifina Popilu from AB Halfern School Limited in the Northern region.
Charlie, the school's name serve the shop.
I tell you.
AB Halfern
Halfern
School in the Northern region.
Yeah.
All right.
Irama Jaba Derby.
So that's number 17.
That's
on the
number
list.
17. Christ the King Methodist Preparatory, Western region.
Okay.
Kachipo Pauline, Maoli School Complex in the Volta region. Kachipo.
If you
The
like, try.
Volta region.
If you like, try.
Nanaba and Shirakwenu, Flowers Gay Schools
Central
in the
region.
Central region. Adiel Akosia Ajakoma Safo. So let's do that again. Adiel Akosia Ajakoma Safo. D&D Academy, Ashanti region,
Okay.
Kumasi to be precise. Benjamil Shafiana Fako, 37 Military Hospital Basic School, Greater Accra region. Then Kusogbo, Mawena Irama, Our Lady of Assumption RC Basic School 1, Tishunungwa, Greater Accra.
When they add one to your school,
I tell you.
it means the school,
Yeah.
the school has come a long way.
Has. Edu Alice, Edu Chumwa, Labaoleshi Presby Basic 1 School,
Wow.
Greater Accra.
Wow.
Owusu Samuel, Agbelenpe 2 Basic, Greater
Wonderful.
Accra. Aseda Irama Asari, University of Ghana Basic School.
That's my former
Bernard,
school. University
Greater
Primary
Accra.
School, yeah.
That's right. Jasmine Bruce Amafio, Pre-Sec Staff 1 Basic,
Okay.
Greater Accra. Mame Tenai Shan, Services Primary and JHS, Greater Accra. Nancy A. Bako, Achimota Basic School 1. Princess Lisa Joy Williams, Blessed School Complex, Greater Accra.
Okay.
Nicole Nalamle Mills, Christ the King International School, Greater Accra. Nurul Haq Sally, Start Right Montessori, also in the Greater Accra region. Again from Start Right Montessori, Nanaya Adobri. Biale Akochawe from Bellflower School, Greater Accra region.
Okay.
Isabella Osea Pia, St. George's International School, Greater
right.
Accra region. Number 35, Mauna Ama Eli Klim, Hills International School, Greater Accra region. Ifwa Ajirba Nunu, Trinity School, Greater Accra region. Ajapong Bempoma Akosia, Silicon Valley International School.
Okay.
Greater Accra region. Jennifer Adra Domfe, Golden Angel School, also
Still
in
in
the
Accra.
Greater Accra region. Michelle Karina Lomo, Aristoland Montessori Center. And this is actually also in the Greater Accra region.
Where do they get these names from?
It's interesting. isn't
Aristoland
it?
Montessori
Very
Center.
interesting. Very interesting.
Aristoland.
Yeah, very interesting.
All right.
Jikunu Nelson Armstrong.
That's number 40.
Number 40. Jaira International School, Greater Accra region. Kelly Wadie, New Pride School, Greater Accra region. Merku Patrick Oscar Manuel, Mary Mother of God Council School.
Mary Mother of Good Council.
Yes, Greater Accra region.
Yeah, airport.
Yaira Ifwa Hachu, Faith Kids Academy. Hachu. Faith Kids Academy, Greater Accra region. Gladys Okai, Glorich School, Greater Accra region. Lois Nadomara Brew, Ridge Church School.
Okay.
Bernice Abba Bensiwa Aban, Bounty Basic School.
Lots of B's there.
Lots of B's.
Bernice Abba Bensiwa
It's
Aban.
a whole alliteration thing
Bounty
going on
Basic
there.
School.
That's what we call alliteration.
Correct one.
Benis Abba Bensiwa Aban.
Bounty Basic School. William Kofi Owusu Opong, the Morning Star School, Greater Accra Region. Hayford Caleb, or Caleb Hayford, Jaira International School, Greater Accra Region. Bertha Rose Odro, Cephalix Academy, Greater Accra Region. And last but definitely not the least, Abba Aqua, St. Adelaide International School in the Greater Accra Region.
So 50 in all.
50 in all.
Out of thousands received.
That's right.
So these 50 people have qualified for the next stage of the literacy challenge. I think I'll go through the names again on the show and then also announce it again throughout the week. Just wanted to get the sense of when they'll write this aptitude test.
Yes, so it's this Saturday, the 12th of August.
This
Saturday,
Hey.
12th August.
Are these people already aware that
So the calls have been going on since Saturday.
Okay.
Now, they will come to the Accra Digital Center in Accra. Okay. They'll sit for the aptitude test. The test begins at 12 noon. So they'll have to be in by 10 a.m. Usually, you want them to relax.
Do you know if they are doing BC or something?
If they're doing BC.
No, BC ends on Friday.
On Friday. Yes. They're just, in this particular list, I think there are 2 JHS 3 candidates. But most of them are JHS 1, JHS 2.
So most of them are in Form 1
Form
and
1,
2.
Form 2. Yes.
And by the way, if you're writing BC this week, it means you're actually ready.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean.
Because they will
easy.
be tested on JSS things.
Right.
So if you're writing BC, it's actually an advantage.
Exactly.
Because you're writing and you finish on Friday, and then Saturday you're just going to write another paper.
Right.
So I don't think it's a problem.
No.
So your mind is still fresh.
Very fresh. Why is Sky worried about them?
Or you think the BC people need to prepare?
Yeah, just preparation.
Oh, these students.
This is actually the BC things.
So
Or JSS
everything
knowledge.
we do in the literacy challenge is centered on the JHS curriculum, our national JHS curriculum. Even though there are a few outliers, but these are not things that they don't have access to in terms of information. Reason why they're able to ace it the way we do. With the aptitude test, we've never had anyone who's fallen below 52% in the 6 years we've been doing this. So I trust them. They'll deliver.
Okay.
They'll deliver.
Is it obgis or is it written?
It's obgis. Yes.
Objective.
100 of them.
So it's
100.
Yes,
when
multiple
it's
choice.
objectives, you have to be clear. Objectives.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's very the common shorthand for it.
Multiple choice.
We
100.
will discuss something. Yeah, some very brilliant Ghanaians here in Ghana and the UK have designed a software that should be able to mark the script for you in a few minutes.
Hey!
The entire
Handwritten script.
Yes, and then the objects, especially the objects.
Yeah, I know.
No. We
Yeah,
have
I
to
know.
discuss that.
So
We have
let's
to
talk
discuss
about
that.
it.
By the way, the literature challenge was brought to us by
Yes, of course. We have some
SIC.
amazing sponsors. We have SIC Insurance PLC.
Yes,
Very important
we also
to add
have,
that. And then we have
Producers of UB.
yes, M4 UB Biscuits
Yes.
Original, the Ghana Gas Company Limited as
Yeah.
well. Prospectus Ghana Limited,
Yes.
Dex Technologies, Fortune Rice, and Alife Soap.
Beautiful. So, Apiakosi, I'm showing with the names. I'll go through the names before the show ends. The top 50 have been announced, and they are to make it to the Accra Digital Center on Saturday, the 12th, for their aptitude test.
And their Grass Digital Center is not far away from us.
Yeah, let's read a few comments on the educational issue, and then I'll be speaking to the new, I'm not even sure it's new, so the president of the Ghana Bar Association.
Okay. Let me check.
In the person of Yawichan Pomboafo, who took office in 2021. But I want to do something quickly. If you want to get a roll that works, is gentle and smooth on the skin, get Bell Pack paper tissue. They are soft but not weak, strong but not hard, just perfect. Whether it's a pocket tissue, a table napkin, or a toilet roll, or a kitchen towel, Bell Pack simply is the best. Call 055 1144 400, and it's another quality product from Bell Aqua. Sky, here are some comments you should read for me quickly.
Okay, let me take this one first from Kofi Adams, who says, why are you shying away from the truth? Why did you think the concept of building day schools, community day schools, was intended to achieve? With poor funding and no proper facilities, day schools are seen or are being converted into boarding houses. Start with 200 and upgrade. Today, basic education, which constitutionally is free, compulsory, and universal, is in a debilitating state. We need to free some funds in the middle to strengthen the basics. You can't have strong building with a weak foundation, but heavier walls. That's coming from Kofi Adams. This one says, in the U.S. university system, you pay based on affordability. The government determines how much support to give based on your level of income. So everyone pays something to the state. It is not automatic. You actually have to apply for it online. We could adopt the same system. This coming in from Linda. And this one says, good morning, team. Day schools are expensive compared to boarding schools. Example, a student stays at Nanakrom, Bochwe, East Legon, etc., and attends Presec Legon. How much does it cost him to get to school per day in terms of transportation? The transportation system would take a lot from
He's talking about the way to resolve the day boarding matter.
Yeah, this one says, good morning, Bernard and team. As much as we celebrate the bit around girls to boys ratio being in favor of the girls, would it not be great to look at what's happening on the ground? One too many of our young boys are getting disinterested in education these days. They'd rather indulge in nefarious activities. Justice. So maybe we need to do some affirmative action for the guys.
No, it's actually 50-50. The number of girls to boys is basically like maybe 100 more.
Yeah, which is good.
It's 50-50.
Bernard, what is happening is that a lot more boys are also not getting attention these days.
No, but that's a different conversation. If you have a population that has 51% women and 49% men, and then you have slightly more girls than boys writing BC, it's then a balanced ratio. So this is not to say that people should drop out of school.
And we're not saying it's like,
no. 300. No. The numbers I give don't suggest what you're saying.
Okay. Because it's for the first time. It's 50-50. The girls are doing much more. The number.
It's just like 200 more.
200 more.
Yeah, and there are more girls at that age than boys anyway. So
let's take more comments. Bernard and team, this SHS thing you guys are discussing, can't they create a disco annex in Accra or Holy Child annex in Accra, Presec annex in Western, and so on? And all those annex schools will be a day school so that children will go to those schools from home. Well, that's one way of looking at it. This one says, Bernard, good morning. Taking our boarding school is going to create exorbitant hostel fees like the universities, which will kill the parents. This is coming in from Wallace Jr. from East Legon. This one says, good morning, Bernard. There is no free senior high school in Ghana. It is just a case of rhetoric. I have two girls in SHS1. We sponsor so much or we spend so much on them. That's what he wants to say. No food in the school. I cried when I went for the girls on Saturday. They have grown lean.
Nothing serious. It's true.
Hey, this is a very serious matter.
Yeah.
They ate gobe continuously for 3 weeks. Charlie Bobo,
they're even lucky they got gobe. Some are eating rice and gasu.
The school would allow parents to bring food, no textbooks, no uniforms, and you call this free? Very, very, very sad. This is coming in from Jonathan. We're sending in this one from the Gan West area. This one says, good morning, Bernard and team. I did my BCE in the year 1990, first batch of BCE. I remember getting 6-1s those times in a typical village school. I wish my niece, Christiana Iwakwe of Abundant Great Academy, the very best in her BCE. It's coming in from James Courage, Ewa in Ewutu Bojiase. And the final one I will take for this morning, we'll leave the rest for later. It says, Charles from Tema, education is like antibiotics. If not taken according to prescription, leaves you worse off. Let's not do this to our kids. The success of everything is based on...
Here are more comments. Here's one that says, phasing out boarding schools will not be good for everyone. My neighbor in East Legon lived in a kiosk with 4 children. Thankfully, that boarding school provides stable environment for education. One of her children is in level 400 at uni as we speak. Another did well in SHS exams. Okay. All right, so comments welcome 054-998-6996. Another Colonel who got promoted, another person got promoted to Colonel over the weekend. Colonel Richardson Deborah, 96-year group. Colonel Richardson Deborah, 96-year group. This is coming from Andy Mensah. I think it's senior Andy Mensah too. Kennel Richardson, Deborah. So quite a number of promotions coming through over the weekend. Here's a long one that I just wanted to read before I turn to the law issues. This person calls himself Big Organic Wachi, Yan Okwe. He says, kudos to Ghanaian folks who made it by road from Ghana to London. Great initiative worthy of celebrating. But my opinion is, how did we support our own prior to this initiative that has attracted so much attention from the international media after Peace FM through Kwame Sefakai first broke the lead? I'm reliably informed they contacted some automobile companies and oil marketing companies for support before this expedition. But what happened? Now that they have made history and it's newsworthy, they are being celebrated. A lot of Ghanaians, especially entrepreneurs, can do a lot more to put Ghana on the world map, to trend in a positive way. But how are we supporting them? We don't support our own as is expected of us as institutions, both private and state. I've taken it upon myself to sell Ghana Organic Water internationally and locally. Let's keep pushing our dreams into reality.
I love my
Charlie,
man.
the guys weave that into the whole thing.
Organic water, they deliver brutal.
All right, so I think the good thing about the show is that sometimes when we make calls, the calls get heard. So like this morning, like I said, I'm appealing to the education minister to hold a national education forum and bring everybody together. I'm very sure one day people will say, Bernard, this Iduchi wants to come and spend the morning with you guys to tell you what he wants to do about education and how he's going to bring everybody together to speak about education. So it's the same way. I think a few weeks ago, we went on and we said, look, the Ghana Association, we're not feeling them at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, credit to them. The credit to them, they have come this morning. I don't know if they are bearing gifts, but they've come this morning. Ketsi Papa Kwakwe and the President Yao Achampon Boafo. I just want to go through the list of some of the former presidents whilst Yao comes into the studio. So, okay, Nathan, let's do a quiz. I'm counting, right? 1, 2. I want to do a small quiz for you. Okay, Yao Achampon Boafo is the GBA president who took over in 2021. What number is he in the list, roughly?
What number is he?
Yeah, is he the...
Hold on. 9.
The 9th GBA president?
Yeah.
You are so far behind. You are so far behind. You are so far behind.
Okay. I thought of a number. I thought it was a little too outlandish. 20th?
No.
Okay. 18th?
No. Okay, so the 9th GBA president in the list I have, this list could be wrong, right? The 9th GBA president, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is somebody called Edward Nathaniel Moore. 1971 to 72. So that gives you a sense. And then you said 18th. Okay,
so that's still not
10,
here.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
That's
16,
still not
17.
here.
18th was Samoku Jeto.
So that's not too far away.
Samoku Jeto was between 95 and 98.
Okay.
So after...
So he should be 21st.
No?
20th.
Charlie, no, Charlie, you are not the lawyer. So it will not... So Samoku Jeto was the 18th. For my list, this could be wrong. I stand to be corrected. Then you have 19th was Joseph Ebo Kwashi, 98 to 2001. Then Pauledu Jemfi for a short stint in 2001 before Kwame Tete took over as well. Solomon Kwame Tete. Neo Sam Mills, who you know, former minister, he was the next. So you have 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. So Osam Mills was 22nd. Frank Beecham was 23rd, 09 to 2012. Nene Abagache, 24th. 2012 to 2015, Benson Uchukwi 25th, 2015 to 2018, Tony Forson Jr. 26th. So Yao Achampon Boafo for my list is the 27th Ghana Bar Association president. Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And you know the funny thing, you're all men. That's the first problem. In 2023, 147-year-old association is a big association, and you are the 27th man to lead it. I don't know. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, Bernard.
I'm sure we can correct that by the time you leave office.
Well, I don't control.
You don't control that. How do they choose? How do they choose the presidents?
Voting by members in good standing.
Oh, has any woman ever offered herself for?
Yes, on 2 occasions against Mr. Forson and myself.
Oh, okay. So which woman went against you?
This is Ifagate.
Oh, then you really won because Ifagate is strong. Oh, then you really won. You because Ifagate, I know Ifagate. I think she's one of these aglo type women. She's very, very dynamic, very strong woman. Wow. So you had competition from a woman. Okay. Hopefully we'll get a woman before 2030. Hopefully we should.
Well, I don't have clairvoyant powers.
You know, when you're interviewing lawyers, you don't want to commit themselves to even simple statements around hope. So you are the 27th, right? So that's she started in 1957.
Yes, Iris Blay was the first.
Iris Blay, wow! And I'm seeing some great names: JB Dankwa, Victor Usu, William Oforiatta, Joe Appiah. Very powerful. A lot of us used to think they said the first lawyer in Ghana was John Mensah Saba. Is that correct?
Or Ghanaian.
First Ghanaian.
If you look at the rule of lawyers, I think it was 18-something. Neville Porter was the first person.
Okay.
They entered the rule of lawyers. You know, when you were asking Nathan about our numbers, I thought you were asking about individual numbers. You know, we have when Mr. Folson was president, I was secretary. We digitized our stuff, so every lawyer has a peculiar number, and that was so I'm 2812, the 2,812th lawyer to be called in Ghana. So we have it.
Are you serious? Yes. So from number one,
Nigerian Porter.
So this includes those who even are dead.
Yes, it's a number that's peculiar to you.
So it's a bit like Opokuwari School and their numbers.
Well, that one is a different matter.
That's not like a 0 to 100 kind of number.
I don't like talking about Opokuwari.
But you went to Prempeh College.
Where else?
I can see. So you are lawyer 2,812.
2812.
Is that a lot or small for a country of 30 million?
That was in 1995, so you can just imagine. But the numbers have increased. For example, this year, if you look at those who were called in November and May, the main call and the mini call, we did 1,045.
Okay, so then the numbers are increasing.
Naturally. I mean, for example, in the past, you'd have done that in a decade. Because we're doing around 80 a year. But now we're doing 1,045 a year. And I think that looking at the numbers at the law school now, it's increasing.
So despite all the complaints that we are not expanding the space, between 95 when you were called to the bar and today, we can say there's been a sizable increase.
I'll just give a statistic. When we amended our constitution. We have fora elections, young lawyers forum, women's forum, and in-house lawyers. When they did the since the past 7 years, we doubled those called to the bar in the last 7 years. I doubled the number since 18.
Wow. Yeah. That's big. Statistically, that's significant because in populations,
I think we have over 5,000, about almost 6,000 lawyers. I must say about 5,500 lawyers.
Because in statistics, Nathan, at the time it takes for a population to double itself is usually sometimes 30 or 40 years.
40 years.
So if you can double your numbers in that period,
7 years,
that's serious. Yeah. So a lot of people want to do law. A lot of people want to be lawyers. A lot of people want to be called to the bar. So there are more people who probably studied law at the basic university, whatever level, but they've not actually been called. So is it better for society to have more lawyers?
It's better for society to have more professionals.
Okay.
But there must be a corresponding opportunity for people to practice that profession. You know, one of the difficulties that we have, and talking about statistics, I mean, you guys who did economics will know more than I do. 85% of lawyers in Ghana work in Accra, the Greater Accra region.
Serious?
Yes, 85%.
Wow.
Yes. So,
wow.
You know, at times people talk about opportunities.
Accra, not Accra, Kumasi.
No.
Accra.
85% of lawyers in Ghana work in Accra.
That's from
yeah. So the question is, when you are training, is like what the doctors will tell you. If you're going to train more specialists, and the regional hospitals are not going to be elevated to the standards of resource the standard of teaching hospitals. What's the sense of having maybe 2,000 cardiothoracic surgeons only for all of them to work at Kolebu? So these are sort of the challenges. So there must be, you know, most of these things, the way it starts like piecemeal. And I think that in all these things, there must be some synergy. We have 3 stages of the training of a lawyer: the academic, the professional, the most important, the post-qualification as a lawyer training. Now, if you go to this is at times the problem most people don't understand. When the discussions are being had, people say, okay, fine, at the undergraduate level, UG can take this number, UCC can take KNUST, Mount Carey, they just talk about, okay, fine. And then people say, okay, the law school must be expanded to say, take this number. But when you leave law school, you have the Legal Profession Act that regulates the profession. You need to have chambers where a lawyer at least 7 years standing can be the only person to be a pupil master. How many registered chambers do you have in Ghana that can take these individuals to let them go through pupillage? That is where, if you don't take care, the very thing that people are scared of, elitism, then becomes the norm, because those whose parents have the same names, those whose parents have the clients connected, are the ones who are going to get pupillage for their awards. So you may have a situation where, if you don't have that synergy, you don't have that discussion, you train them, yes, but ultimately they will not get chambers to do their pupillage. So that's a discussion that we must have.
Apart from the number difference in terms of in the 50s and 60s and today, what is the most significant way the profession and the association has changed between, say, the days of Victor Usu, William Foriata, Joe Appiah, and today?
Oh, but a lot. You know, I think that even for us, you see, the difficulty at times for us, general in Ghana, is reforming, changing the changing world. If you look at the Ghana Bar Association, our structure was fit for the days of Victor Usu and the Samuel Kujetus, because in those days you could count on your fingers the number of lawyers in Ghana. So you could have a part-time secretary, a part-time president. You know that running the association was not as tedious. And I'm saying this thing because my dad in 82 to 85, when J.K. Ajimine was national president, was the national secretary. How many lawyers in Ghana? As I said, the last 7 years, we have literally doubled our numbers. Now, the president of an association over 5,000 or 6,000 members, now you have to process people's solicitor's license, practicing certificates for them. And democracy also has its own thing. You're a member of this council, you represent the bar, president has to be here, secretary has to be here. I've been secretary before, I've been president before. Can we run an association and provide the services that our members need with this part-time thing where we still have to do our practices and still do these things? So that's one of the major challenges that we face, trying to move into the New Testament with Old Testament stuff, what Jesus Christ warned us, we don't put new wine in old wineskins. So these are discussions that we keep on having. That look, we cannot, for me, if there is something that I really want us to look at, especially as I leave next year, is that we must have a deep conversation, about resourcing the Ghana Bar Association so that it can provide the services that its members need and be association that it is. We cannot have a structure or a governance structure that has been in place since I think the 80s and expect it to work.
So are you saying that because the type of governance system we have has changed to a full-blown democracy as against the military years, in addition to the fact that there are more numbers to cope with in the technological world, what the GBA means in 2023 is not what it means in 81?
Absolutely. Because, for example, now we have to process the practicing certificate of any practicing lawyer in Ghana. And, individuals with IT experience are literally sacrificing to do this thing for us free. Now, the secretary, the president, nobody gets anything. We are all doing it. Of course, it's very prestigious and honorable. But the question is, can we sustain it in the next decade? Is it sustainable? Those are the questions that we have to be asking, because the challenges of the demand on the president of the bar now, for example, in the days of the military dictatorship, who would even want to invite a bar president to, say, give a lecture before security agencies swarm the place? But if I look at people inviting you here, and you cannot be a master of everything. You don't even have a research assistant to help you out. So you have to use fall on your own resources to do research on the various topics that you've been asked to come and speak on. So these are the questions that we have to look at.
But can't somebody say, if in 81, 82, all the way to 92, lawyers who headed the bar had the courage to speak truth to power, shouldn't it be much easier for a president in 2023 to do this? So if Samoku Jeto and all the names I mentioned did all the brave things they did, and then now that there's more freedom, rather the association doesn't say anything.
But you see, this thing about that's even the more reason why people should understand the changing times. I said somewhere that you don't read the book of Lamentations in the time of Hebrews. You see, in the days of old, the existence of the state itself was unconstitutional. So every single day there was something to speak about. And issuing statements was the highest form of protest.
Mm.
You get the point, and this is what actually happened. Let's put it there. You had only the Radio Ghana or GTV at that time was Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. What they used to do was that when the bar issued a statement, they would, from the editorial, they'll read it out and then state the government's position, end up insulting the bar or saying something. So people heard. That was the only time. But fast forward this era, and I'll give you a specific example. When we had the violence associated with the Ayabaso
West by-election,
I was then secretary. We issued a statement, and Mr. Forson signed before I signed.
Mm-hmm.
Then we handed over to our national PR at that time, Mrs. Sia Jacobo.
Mm.
Later in the evening, he called me, Ayal, have you heard of the news? And I was like, I've been monitoring, I've not really heard it being broadcast anywhere. Fast forward, after our 2019 bar conference, the NDC sent us an invitation that President Mahama was meeting stakeholders. I think they were putting together their manifesto and wanted to meet us.
Mm.
We met him, and then the secretary, that time now the chairman of the NDC, accused us of having kept quiet. And we told him, look, we issued a statement. I was listening to the vetting of Ms. Howard Kumsen.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Because we specifically condemned his action of pulling a gun. And I now realized that the minority leader was quoting our statement.
In that vetting.
Yes, the question is, you see, the bar statement it's like a newborn baby. There must be breast milk in your mother's breast for you to survive. We don't control the production policy of the respective media houses. So, Bernard, if the bar issues a statement and Citi decides not to broadcast it, we cannot control it. And I was asking myself, how come something happened that the specific rebuke of maybe how it comes in that statement it just sort of vanished in the media landscape. So we've issued a lot of statements.
But yeah, that could mean many things. It could be the timing of the release of the statement. It could be the choice of the modus of communication. So if a statement doesn't gain traction within a very controversial time, it's more your communication tool that should be questioned and not the relevance of the fact that GB has issued a statement. So I'm pushing back to say, look, the association is supposed to be one of the conscience of the nation. So you find a way to be relevant. So your articles of incorporation don't say issue statements. You use various tools. There are lectures, there are sit-ins, there are strikes, there are statements. So if you issue a statement and people don't use it, that's just half of the story. The other story could be maybe they should have done something else. Do you get me? So I'm not sure if that example is enough to absolve the association of dereliction of moral leadership in the country.
Bernard, that was the prologue to the main story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we issued a statement on Muntaka's accusation that a judge had spoken to one of the MPs in relation to the speaker, that one was broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
When we issued a statement when the MP for Medina said there were political judges, that one was broadcast. Good. Now, so Bernard, using your own premise, then you have to start questioning the strategy of statements in this context. When I took office, I decided that, listen, do we want to make effect change or we just want to be heard? That is the question. That was the dilemma. So I spoke to my national executive committee members that let's look at changing a bit of tack, because if you look at this Fourth Republic, maybe one of the most difficult conflicts that we had with the Dagbon crisis, but it was resolved through a dialogue. It wasn't resolved through anything. If you look at what our eminent chiefs have done, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's Nobel Prize stuff. So I said, okay, fine. Let's pursue the path of dialogue. And that required that we paid a courtesy call on security chiefs and other members. When these matters come, we would pursue dialogue. Because for me, Bernard, if there is something that the GB can be accused of, and I think that is one thing I'll raise my head, is that we've not taken advantage of the democratic structures to effect change. I want us to commence more actions when there are infractions on human rights and achieving social justice. And that is exactly the precedent our ancients set for us. You realize that after 1993, when the Constitution came into effect, the GBA took a lot of matters to the Supreme Court to get orders that can be enforceable. Because for me, in a democracy, court orders can be enforced. If there is maybe an infringement of a human right, I would rather the GBA takes a public interest matter to court, get orders that can be, or pro bono services for the person, than issuing a statement, just putting out in that context, So we started dialogue. And one of the things that has happened is that we've pursued it. And you actually will be able to achieve change, but people may not hear it. And that maybe is it's one thing. But still, we've not taken away statements. And when we feel that our voice must be heard within that context. But now it's like a two-pronged strategy. Where it's dialogue, we pursue dialogue. Where it is where the statement, we show a statement.
Okay.
I know the problem is people are saying that, I think that's maybe where you're going. People are saying that we have not been fair to a particular political tradition.
Yes. The view is that the association, two things, there are two issues. Historically has been steeped in the MPP tradition. So let me give you the names. So I'm just giving the names of your former presidents, the past 28. Of the ones that are political, so R.S. Blay, Achikesley Hayford, J.B. Dankwa, Victor Usu, William Oforiatta, Joe Appiah, Joe Randolph, Edward Nathaniel Moore, Kwashi Aidan, Peter Lajete, Samuku Jeto. These names are more associated with the MPP tradition than the NDC. In fact, on this list, the only person I can say who was explicitly NDC that I know is Neo Samuels. There are some I don't know. Some were not necessarily political. So the first issue is that the association itself, don't forget that the UGCC was seen as a group of businessmen, lawyers, and the elite. So MPP tradition is steeped in elitism, of which lawyers are a part. We can't deny this. So the view is that the ethos of the GBA itself favors the right of center political tradition, which is the MPP's antecedents. That's point number one. Point number two, in periods of the NDC being in office, the association seems to be more vocal. In fact, there are cases they've mentioned. For example, in 2010, the GBA vice president, Menka Premo, was talking about corruption in the judiciary, misconduct of judges. Lots of things happened. This was under Mills getting into Mahama. The feeling is that when MPP is in office, the association picks and chooses what it wants to comment on, irrespective of who is the president. Right? So these are the two issues. The historical evidence that I've pointed you to, and then for example, if you want me to go further, if you go to this government, there are all kinds of things that have happened which have not received any comment or statement. But I will let you address it if I go to that. So the historical issue, and then the time, the frequency of intervention and the force of intervention by the association when MPP is in office versus when NDC is in office.
Okay, Bernard, when was the NDC formed? If you're going to talk about history, Joe Randolph was Attorney General and the PMP. So in that era, it was CPP, CPP, UP, UGCC. And you realize that if you were to break it down, R.S. Blay, I think Achikesley Hayford and those guys were more CPP. It was maybe the most, William Oforiatta, Joseph Appiah, Victor Usu, maybe the most.
So JB, Victor Oforiatta, Joe Appiah, Joe Randolph, all those five.
Joe Randolph was actually CPP.
Okay.
He was Liman's Attorney General.
Okay, so I've given you, okay, no worry. But of the list I've given, you can say about 60% are from the UP tradition.
No, there's some, so let's look at, if you want to look at the context, let's look at it from 93.
Okay, fine.
And in the Fourth Republic,
fair enough,
the only bar president who has become a cabinet minister is Neo Samuels.
Yes.
You get the point?
Yeah.
Good. Now, and in the Fourth Republic, I can only say that maybe the person we can say must be most politically exposed president, maybe Samuku Jeto, because he was a UNC MP. But you must forget that
95 to 98.
I even hear that during the 69th, he was part of the National Alliance of Liberals. So even his political tradition, maybe because it's crystallized recently. So you realize that contrary to the belief, it's actually not correct. Now, if you look at if you look at it now, if you look at the Fourth Republic, the point is when people are contesting, people ascribe to things. I'll tell you a funny thing. My predecessor, Anthony Fossey, I know him very, very well. Because his father was Attorney General in the NDC. He was tagged NDC. Benson Nukchupu, I don't even know how on earth he got himself. He was tagged NDC. So people,
by the association.
No, you see,
but not by the public.
The public.
Really?
Yes, I mean the point.
The public tagged Benson Nukchupu NDC and I wasn't aware.
Absolutely.
Or Tony Fossey NDC and we're not aware. I didn't get the memo.
See, I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that
within your publics.
No, and the funny thing is that, Tony Fossey won an election during the NDC MPP, and then against somebody whose husband is a minister of state.
Okay,
you get the point. MPP Minister of State. So, contrary to what people believe, the bar doesn't do that. Just that, in this country, we become so partisan that even at times people say names, people start assuming
your party by the name.
By the name. So those are allegations. But then, what I always tell people is the difficulty we have, Bernard, is that because the NDC, it's by their own constitution, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a successor of the PNDC. Just like a corporate takeover, where you take over the obligations and liabilities, because they believe in the ideals of June 4th. They have carried that baggage onto themselves. If you look at the bar, say from 2001, when there was really a break after President Rawlings left, nobody can tell me that the bar has treated an NDC government under President Mills or President Mahama worse than maybe President Kofi and President Nana Addo. You get the point. So the point is, it is not correct. But Bernard, I'll also tell you something. At times, people should understand that there's a time for everything. One thing that the current president, I say these things, I mean, people can read what it has done is, every year, since President Akufo-Addo took over, that's from Benson Nukchupu's time, the president makes sure, when we send a request to him, we meet him. I mean, this is out of media thing, and discuss matters of state, and those are matters that maybe because they do something are normally held private, and everything that we want to tell the president, we tell the president.
Every president, or this president?
No, this president. At least what I know is that from Benson Nukchupu's time, it's President Akufo-Addo has seen 3 bar presidents: Nukchupu, Forson, and myself.
So do you know if this practice has been there before?
I know the first time it was started was President Mahama's time, when I was regional president, Ashanti regional president, and then Justice Amegache, that time President
Amegache.
Yes, we met the President Mahama once, and I think that the first time that actually the next executive committee paid a courtesy call on the president was under President Bicham's time, when President Mills took over. You get the point. So it's something that.
And of course, by the way, Mills was a lawyer, Akufo-Addo was a lawyer, so that context is also important. So maybe the bar feels more comfortable to pay a courtesy call on a lawyer president than they would a non-lawyer. I don't know.
No, we send the bar sends. I'll tell you something. Michael Quayle was a lawyer. We sent a request to meet him. He never honored it. But recently we met
as speaker.
He never honored it. But we've met Alban Somalicans for back then. So
it depends.
It depends on that individual.
Okay. Let me give you the chance to address a few final points on this issue before we move on. I brought you here for many other reasons. So there are a number of things that people feel like, yes, you can't comment on everything, but something like unlawful removal of Domolevo, which the Supreme Court has eventually sort of sided with him, right? And the fact that it did. Supreme Court sometimes rules on cases when the horse has already bolted. People feel like that's substantive enough to hear GBA. The issue of the non-representation of the people of SAL in Parliament has come up strongly. What the military did in Parliament on January 7 is seen as a big affront to democracy, where soldiers enter a chamber of Parliament ostensibly to keep the peace, when Parliament have their own police. The issue of the killing of Ibrahim Mohammed Kaka in Ejura. The Kennedy Japan calling judges by names live on TV. All right. Some of these things have been cited as opportunities for the bar to take a principled position, not necessarily take a partisan stance, because these things that have happened that I've mentioned, if a sitting auditor general is hounded out of office in a manner in which Domolevo was, and eventually the Supreme Court agrees with him, but sort of waits till the damage is already done, I don't know, the cases I've mentioned, has the bar issued a statement I've missed?
But I'll take you one by an answer question. Domolevo. When the matter happened, a group of individuals invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to have just that the determination delayed. So immediately somebody triggers the judicial process. The bar will be incapacitated for making a comment.
Okay.
The next one would be
SAL.
SAL.
Non-representation of people of SAL in Parliament.
I think with SAL, if I'm not mistaken, that is not before the Supreme Court. I think SAL is SAL is not before the Supreme Court. So SAL, we have to raise our hands on that one. Good. And then the next one is
military invasion of Parliament, January 7.
We condemn that statement together with the behavior of our parliamentarians and the military. That was what I'm saying. That statement condemned Muntaka, condemned the behavior of parliamentarians engaging in fisticuffs and the military. It was three in one.
It was joint.
Joint, yeah, one statement.
Of course, you can't tell how to issue your statement, but a lot of people felt that Parliament is a master of its own rules, and yes, they can't do anything they want. But for soldiers to enter a chamber, particularly looking at the history of Ghana and the activities of the association within the military era, to have soldiers enter Parliament in the manner they did, without any serious retribution, is pretty serious.
Man, do you know what we did? We did, and then Samjata George went on Facebook to attack us for attacking Muntaka. So you see, the discussion then was then later Muntaka apologized, but Sam George never apologized to us for calling a bunch of drunks.
What about the issue of Kaka?
Kaka, that was the subject matter of a ministerial what do you call it? It was a commission, not like a committee of inquiry headed by Justice Kumsan.
But does that prevent the association from stating a position?
Absolutely.
No,
you see,
hold on. If a commission is looking into something, there are principles. There are things that you can say. Look, if somebody is being killed, whether there's a committee or a case, a killing is condemnable. So I'm not sure how a commission looking into something then sort of emasculates the bar from stating a position on a matter of principle, not a question of choosing sides. If somebody has been killed, the person has been killed.
Ben, you know, one of the things that everybody has to understand is that, like they say, the umbrella of chiefs have different sizes.
Okay.
One day I was invited to our conference room. We deliberately have set it up the way that when the bar presents us, you turn right, you do from RS Blade to Stony Folsom, and you know that the difficulty you have. Our voice is different. Now, just imagine, for example, during the Ejura crisis, there were two narratives. He was killed because of his, this fix the country activism.
Social media.
Others once said it was a family feud. That was a true thing. Now, if the bar states, maybe it takes the fix the counter narrative, and it turns out that look at how we feel. I'll give an example. You know, recently in Boko, there was this report that 3 people had been shot by the military. It's all over the place. And then I was talking to Mr. Kuje. So I said, we all agreed to wait. It turns out that it wasn't true. Now, just imagine the GBA issued a statement condemning the military. You know, I don't have the liberty of an error. You see, so before we issue a statement, our voices may be like a paramount chief's umbrella. You know, others may have an Odikro umbrella, so they can get away with the gaff. Some center for this can get, but we cannot. I mean, I don't want to be the first bar president that brings X on the face of the bar. So we have to be very cautious. Now, if you look at Kennedy Japon's one, immediately he made that statement. We heard that Justice Wuni had kick-started the contempt processes against him. Then that becomes a sub judice matter. So, Bernard, you see, we are governed by certain, we work within certain parameters. So, the center for this, now there's the social society space. It's very, very crowded. They can.
So are you saying that professional bodies cannot act necessarily as pressure groups because of the changes in the times?
We can. We do. But ours must be something where there's no margin of error. Because, for example, when Kennedy Japan makes a statement, and then a judge says that, okay, fine, I have cited you for contempt, the bar has to hold his guns there. Any other person can still criticize Kennedy Japan. So, so it is not because Kennedy Japan is MPP. It's just because immediately he made those statements. Justice Wuni, there was a problem, and then he also went to Supreme Court that to prohibit the charge. So there's all these judicial processes. For the average person coming to a radio station, yes, you can make those comments.
So I say now when something is in court, because another one people point out to, when the journalists who criticized the First Lady were prosecuted in a criminal manner. Some people feel that in the era of
free speech,
the repeal of criminal libel, that matter should have been treated as a civil matter. I know it's a specific case, but for media freedom watchers, in fact, there's a feeling that there's a reversibility in media freedom. The Speaker of Parliament last week made comments about that journalists are frequently attacked these days. So the association is supposed to be an ally of the media in that space.
Yes, Bernard, you see, this is so at times it hurts me when the media accuses us. We go to the conference at home. It's a GBA conference, so I guess that the speech of the bar president will reflect the position of the GBA.
Mm-hmm.
Condemned the, we had dropped on the World Freedom
rankings significantly,
and attacks on pressmen specifically, only for everybody to report on the Attorney General's speech, as if the Attorney General was the main.
The same media decided to articulate the Attorney General and ignore what you said for us.
And it's about the point is, I can finish with my speech. And the point is, and the bar supposed to have kept quiet, and I was like, the bar conference, it's the most important meeting of the GBA. You had everybody there. The President of the Republic was sitting just two. The Attorney General was sitting next to me. Everybody was there. Condemned attacks on media freedoms and erosion of it. The next time I heard, Attorney General says John Mahama should not have gone to court. The bar doesn't have its we don't have
a radio station.
We don't have a
no, but that is a bit problematic. I agree with you. That so sometimes the journalists we cover they're looking for news angles.
And for me I was like, I'm accused of being in bed with the government. Now I come out of the bed to the living room to speak to the media, and they didn't want to listen. So if you look at all these matters that maybe we, as I said, the GBA for a very long time has not looked at communication. That I must raise our hands. Mm-hmm. So realize that now, Mr. Kujet, that's a lot of things. I rarely speak, and it's deliberate because what we've done is that now we have we're now using social media. This I was talking about how at times we, the bar, we're very sort of like late in reforming. We need also to have our communications team build it up and let our story also come out. Because, for example, after the bar conference or before the bar conference, we can do a media thing, maybe a press briefing for our communiques and our resolutions. That's something I'll raise our behind that we're not doing.
It's 9:15. My guest is Yao Echampomboafo, Ghana Bar Association President. He's answering questions on a lot of things that people have sent. These are matters that have been in the public domain, and we are grateful you are here to face these questions. I wanted to move to some couple of areas. So the issue of professional bodies in general. Okay, now that we have 30 years of Fourth Republican democracy, do you not think that professional bodies can be more proactive in service delivery of whatever service we are getting? So whether it's built environment for engineers, or the quality of service we get. And I'm using this to point you to things like remand, people in prison for the little offense, cases dragging for so long. The court system is very slow and expensive. The amount of money you need to even file, legal aid not working. I mean, what are your thoughts around what the association can do professionally to make justice delivery more accessible and affordable?
But I said I raised my hand. One of the things that hurts me, genuinely, as bar president is when we major in minors and the standard being expected of me is too low. Because, what does it take for a lawyer to write a statement? At least I think we can, with people like Paco Akwe around, we can write who are the first class in English, just like you having the first class in economics. We can have somebody to write some good English for us, not at least better than Chema to means English. You get the point. So, if that's what the bar president is all about, then, but at times I see these social injustices. And people don't seem to think that that's what we should do. If you watch WhatsApp platforms, the bar president will be rated for no issue a statement here, there. But we started this Father's Day, Mother's Day program where on Mother's Day, all our female colleagues around the country gather and go and make a donation, maybe less privileged. We are the only professional who do that, actually. I say we'll go to heaven more than anybody else. So we were in Sawam prison on Father's Day. And it's shocking. And I've told my National Council members that there's a day that I'll drag all of them there. When we went there and, what people are saying, we don't have sentencing reform. We don't have sentencing reform. But there are certain things that we've been picking up, but nobody seems to want to listen. We don't have sentencing reform. This issue about minimum sentencing, it's something that really gets me boiling. And it's all personal experience. I'll share one personal experience with you. I've had a problem with this minimum sentencing. In Gaso, a 15-year-old got pregnant. His parents the boy's parents are farmers in Ahafo. So, and the lady, he got pregnant, lives with the grandmother. So, typical young boy who's got himself a whole lot of trouble. He denied the pregnancy. So the illiterate grandmother goes to the police station. This boy has gotten my granddaughter. So in a manner, that's a criminal offense.
Yes.
But because 15 years, straight liability, then the police decided to charge the boy with defilement. That's not what's wrong with that. And then later the parents came, accepted responsibility. So the grandmother goes to the police. Then they were told that the boy has been in prison for 7 years, and that's the minimum. The
15-year-old boy is in prison for 7.
The boy is about 19 or something, but the lady is 15.
15, okay.
Now, this is stressful in the farming community. Now, when the matter came before Justice Alsuji, we cannot do anything about it. This grandmother was screaming. It turned out that the lady, I think, even had a child when she was 13 or 14. But then the point is, for me, the young boy in that farming community being in prison for 7 years minimum.
Who is the father of a child whose mother might not even have money.
And then somebody steals cables, those and then it gets 4 or 5 years as a deterrent. So
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so we don't leave judges the discretion. Recently, somebody was telling me some lady who sells some of these aphrodisiacs.
Yeah,
I think somebody drank it and got baptism or something. But because there was this minimum sentence thing, so this. Wickedness in high places attitude towards sentences.
Straight jacket.
Where we don't look at the facts of the case. For me, let's look at our social structure. It's a 15-year-old girl who lives in Airport Hills is thinking about going to Wesley Girls. She doesn't even know something. But I know in Bantama there's a place called Abunsamjum where 15-year-old girls. I mean, if you get the point. I'm not saying, but you see, so imprison somebody for 7 years for having sexual thing with...
It doesn't take... So what is the association doing or going to do about that?
This is the things that I feel passionate about. That's the thing that I think people should hold me responsible.
Wonderful.
For example, how many times do we go to court? I will tell you something. I was having a discussion that the law says that a certain percentage of VAT should be paid for, set aside for Get Fund, any child. They are always in arrears. Does the finance minister have the power to give these monies as and when he chooses? Monies that the law says 2.5% of VAT is for any child. These are matters that we should go to court and test to see, because if the court makes an order that says that immediately monies are paid, it is set aside for any. Are we going to have problems in our health sector or our education sector, infrastructure-wise? These are the things that I think we should hold as response. For example, sentencing reforms. These are things that are dear to our heart. These are things that the GBA should be doing. I agree with you. For example, we as a profession, we encourage people to do pro bono. You get the point. Lawyers have done very well, but we can do better than what we're doing. And that, for me, should be the challenge facing us.
Is this something a bar association leadership can do within a term? An issue like taking up reduction in custodial sentencing, the kind of reform that you see with plea bargaining, and then also clearing the prisons of remand prisoners. Are these things an association within a term, which I think is 4 years? How long?
The problem is, we are dependent on the Attorney General sending a bill to Parliament and our parliamentarians taking it serious, But at least if we intensify our advocacy, you get the point, it would go a long way. Of course, it still depends on the priorities of government. You see the point? But the problem is, those are the things that really bother me, and that's what bothers us as a country. The number of people that we're putting in prison is quite scary. Yeah. And the way our prisons, and why should somebody go to prison for something, all these fines? Yeah, and I don't know where we got this thing that if we make sentences more severe,
it will deter
without dealing with the causes of crime. That alone will deter.
So you have a lot of things to say about this. There's a story that will interest you. Somebody just sent me one where the district court in Kasua.
The cursing one.
Yes, for cursing a police officer.
Yes. I must say that we have seen that one. We've put it on our national council and we've asked our central bar people to look into the matter. Okay. But I know that there are some lawyers who have even decided on the Learned Friends platform that they'll take the matter pro bono.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, Ben, and exactly that's another point. We forget that Ghana goes beyond Accra. If sometimes we see the things some of our judges in far-flung far remote areas too. There was an experience that there was a time, I think my junior lawyer days, I was sitting in court and a state attorney showed me some record of proceedings. There was this Kusasi boy in the Tubodom area who was hired as a farmhand, by day. And the farm owner refused to pay him. So in front of him, he said, okay, then I'm uprooting this tuber of yam to go and cook for my wife and children.
Okay.
For some reason, they reported him to the police. He was charged with stealing. And he actually told the judge that this is what I did. And that's how the record of proceedings captured it. He was in prison for 8 years. So I think he was in jail for about 4 years, and he was, this prisoner transfer, he was sent to Kumasi. And one of the Kusasi, he was talking to him, so he decided to take it matter. And Justice Ziblim was fuming. And that gave me, okay, look, these are the things that are being done. This Kaswa thing, if somebody had not picked up and put on social media, 12 months for cursing the police, you get the point. And one of the things too that we have to also have to look at is this. What is the effect on donor funding on some of these things? At times, I have a problem with our DOPSU people. That look, it's not everything that we take to the court. Some of these matters can be resolved. But at times, when you have pressure on people, recently, all this BBC documentary about when you have pressure on people because of donor funding to hit certain targets, these are some of the problems that we have to face. So these are discussions that...
Mr. President, why I agree with your view on what you want to be remembered for, I think the main problem you face is the expectation of Ghanaians, particularly within the Fourth Republic. It's 30 years, right? Our mindset have been shaped by a very, even militant association. I use that word with extreme care, right? In terms of advocacy and also being a moral compass for oppressed people in the country. Now, the fact that we have a democracy which changes government every 4 years does not mean there's no oppression. And the fact that we vote in elections does not mean that we are getting good governance. So I think the reason a lot of people keep pushing back and saying the association is losing relevance is because they still expect you to be at the vanguard of defending. And do you get my point? So you are all the things you say you want to do make sense on paper. But where Ghanaians see what GBA means to Ghanaians, they still picture Peter Alajete, they still picture Samoku Jeto, they still picture an association that could take on Rawlings. All right. Now, if they feel, and I know there's partisanship, but you can't tell me that every issue in Ghana politically is partisan. There are some issues that we all know wrong is wrong. So I'm pushing back to say you have a challenge in convincing people that the GBA, to the minds of the public, not to members of the association, is fit for purpose. Do you get my point? How do you convince Ghanaians that, yes, this is the GBA, or they should forget, it's not going to happen?
But, one of the things, I think we were having a discussion with Caleb and outside there, that we don't seem to have maybe an objective barometer to determine what is public opinion. You may have elite noise makers. Bernard, nobody should understand. Peter Jete wasn't a bad president, a highly partisan, volatile political party. The GBA must maintain that voice, that standard. Most people need the GBA to validate their positions. When these things happen, you have a lot of partisan posturing, and everybody needs the GBA's position to validate it, because if the GBA says this thing, like when Haruna Idrusu realized that we had condemned maybe Sawa Kumsen's action, that was it. Look, I'll give you an example. The only minister of state whose action has attracted the problem of the GBA, maybe Sawa Kumsen, and he's not an NDC. Bernard, one of the things about democracy, 30 years, this is the first time in the history of this country any generation has seen it. So I think that maybe all of us, because it's the first time, there is no precedent for us to work with. So we are still got stuck up in a bit of, the old and the new. For me, one thing that we've done well is that in the days of old, we still have excesses, I'm not saying, but in the days of old where it was a norm, has reduced. So naturally, you're going to have it reduced. We are now looking at issues at governance and everything. But my problem is, for example, if a government manifesto comes out that I want to implement this policy when I'm elected, and the policy is implemented, for me, it's the electorate to pay the government back. For example, the government says I want to implement the free SHS. if people say that, some people are saying that it's a drain of on our resources. Because others say that you're going to get a benefit. It's for the electorate to decide. Those things we don't get, but those are the things that engage people.
People are interested in those
things,
which you think is not necessarily what you are there for.
No, most forget that when Mr. Kwame Tete became bar president, he made the point that the bar would make comments on matters of national interest, not political matters. We're going to stay away from it. So when you have divisions, for example, during this ACA Jubilee Fields thing, NDC was saying this, MPP was saying this, you watch it.
Is there space in that milieu to do like a So I'll give you an example. If there's a dispute over a project where ICAG can independently let an audit team do their own valuation as a professional body and say this is our view, or maybe we are trying to start a project and the engineers can say this is our own feasibility. Is there space within that for GBA to say, in the matter of in the interest of the public, because there's a conversation around Ejapa as an example, when it initially broke out, we will have a legal team that we've constituted by council to give a reasoned legal opinion to help the process.
Absolutely.
Is that possible?
Absolutely. You see, one thing that you have to understand is the government, successive governments, have also pushed the GB aside. Recently, we are engaging, and I must raise my hand, our current Attorney General has done an absolutely brilliant. So now almost every bill is brought to us for our comments.
Yeah.
A lot of bills have passed. And it creates a problem. Look at the Presidential Transition Act. It was discussed on the GB, and they later realized that they were patently unconstitutional provisions, like when Parliament should rise, and even though the Supreme Court has not struck it out, we had to amend it ourselves. These are some of the things that happen. We still have the monopoly on that resource called
law.
Recently, in talking about things that matter, myself, Professor Buchi, decided that, okay, AFCFTA, the dispute settlement process is being discussed. The dispute settlement chamber, we are yet to determine where it should be cited. Let's make a case for Accra.
Thank you.
Also, under the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act, governments must set up an arbitral body. Let's set an Accra. So we could even start, okay, fine, by rule, maybe something like $20 million, all commercial agreements, the seat will be in Accra, something small. After some time, we'll build that
the capacity.
Accra then becomes the dispute settlement center of Africa. Wonderful. These are the things that, but you see, when you raise these matters, nobody wants to listen.
They are interested in politics. They are just looking for elections.
Yes, and they'll tell you that those things don't bring votes,
So they are looking for votes.
So the difficulty is that, and you see, the point is that if the bar starts a program of trying to get after dispute settlement chamber cited in Accra or the ADR, I think maybe Citi FM, you may give us some space, but the other person will not.
Do. But even last week you were here.
I mean, you may give it, but you see, the others may not.
But I just want to explore this issue further of professional reasoned opinion. Is there an appetite in the association for that?
Absolutely. If you bring it to us, trust me. Recently they're doing this anti-money laundering guidelines for professional bodies. Yeah. The consultants FIs came to see us, and we set up a team.
Good.
Headed by Sata Sante, to look at, because you see, nobody has that capacity more than us.
Yeah, I'm saying this because we have 30 years of democracy, and the challenge, as you said, this is the most successful republic, so we have to be grateful for this. But to make it better, we need to mediate or moderate the extreme partisanship of the two leading political parties. Absolutely. And one way of doing that is what is called voice. Now, voice means who do you listen? So let's assume we are discussing free SHS. You can bring MPP or NDC and they will tell you what they think. Now, you can bring a professional body like NAT. When NAT comes in, they will say, as teachers, we think that this should be done, this should not be done. It's not necessarily political, it's not necessarily partisan, even though it's political. So what I'm saying is that the association has over how many thousand lawyers? A lot of the issues that have come up that the politicians have been playing football with, ECA, GENSA, there are lots of them which are very technical, and I know some of your members are making money from them. But I feel like the association should go to be a light to say, well, based on this, I know it's a very difficult path, but you can say, look, professionally, because engineers do that. In fact, Kanasigbe and Co have an engineers association where now, when they are built environment issues, they make comments proactively because they realize that, in fact, they claim you guys have even run the country for too long, lawyers, and it's not helping. So they want engineers to even come and be president, but that's a different matter. Again, the accountants sometimes come in There's an analysis on
the
something.
accountants own the country now. They get all the juicy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't you think it will be a more lasting legacy for the GBA to now be seen providing, because Parliament, for example, does not have an independent budget office. So Parliament's ability to independently scrutinize the executive is very limited. You have enough mental material to fill that gap. Maybe you have to convince your members that because important issues that inure to the future of our resources have become so partisan. Look at energy deals. Here we are with what's the name of what do you call it? No, the power deal that went through Ejakun. I forget the name.
Ameri.
I mean, I'm sure that there could have been an independent assessment of the power purchase agreements, a GBA opinion. We will use it too much. There was nothing.
But you see, that is if the PP we brought to us because some of your colleagues are also doing this. But you see, we suffer from the burden of history, and our members are guilty of this. Let me give you an example. If you look at the Fourth Republic, now Securities and Exchange Commission, Insolvency and Restructuring Real Estate Agency Act. Today, the accountants are even telling us that we have to be licensed to do conveyancing. We sat there, and insolvency is now controlled by Garia. That's exactly my point. Because you see, the GBA still has this core constituency that forgets that essentially we're a professional body. But people still think that we, because we led during the military era, all these professional bodies.
Oh, so you face that internally too?
Seriously.
Okay, I mean,
no.
Right.
Internal, because you see, lawyers and politics are like Siamese twins.
They like it.
Unfortunately for us, and I say this thing, we are the only profession that our members go to politics
and don't lose their membership.
No. Oh. And they actually forget us. You see, you get the point. For example, there are accountants in Parliament. When acts are being passed, they are trying to fill in the place, and so now they get all the juicy thing. The GBA doesn't even get representation or anything now. There are doctors in Parliament. But anytime the matter for the GLC comes, you see the lawyers in Parliament are the ones who turn against their own association. So on lawyers' platforms, partisan lawyers have taken points. The question for me is, let's take Ameri. Ameri was a political hot potato.
Yes.
Political hot potato. If the GBA had set up, because we have a legal committee.
Yeah.
And come up with maybe look at the PPA.
A nuance angle.
Yeah. And then it's eventually going to support one side.
It may not necessarily.
I'm just saying that maybe.
It may even say that both of them are missing the point.
Absolutely. That would be
beautiful.
But unfortunately, if it ends up supporting one side, and God forbid it ends up supporting the MPP side, we might as well have stayed at home.
No, but yeah, I think I'm pushing back. You see, leadership is not doing what people. This is what I'm saying. If you do it consistently enough, people will know that you have been objective in doing it. Because a lot of the issues that are discussed in the media, the answer is more nuanced than the angles the two sides present. So usually, when a professional body steps in, they may agree with one side more than the other. But when you read the full thing they put, I realize that there are so many layers. So my angle is that if professional bodies, last week Yaun Saku spoke on the platform of professional bodies on the Fourth Republic. Professional bodies, by the nature of the association, have the best of everything. So if you are looking for the best energy lawyers, you know them.
Yes.
NDC and MPP will just use the ones who maybe are NDC or MPP.
Yes.
Right? So if you say you want to get 3 of the top people, of course you may not be able to pay them, but you can say it's part of your national service. This Ameri thing is a big deal, or this whatever. So I'm saying that the fact that it can be twisted to support one side is not the issue. The issue is, does it help the process and does it help the citizens get
it does help
insight into the truth? It says, let justice fall, let justice do the heavens fall. So don't be afraid of where the chips may lie. Right?
The media must help the country. You know, I think at times we also give too much oxygen to our partisans to breathe. You know, I wish Caleb was here. We're having this discussion. And I was asking myself that, why is it that when such technical matters come, we don't even start the conversation with, independent experts. For example, we have a problem with PPA.
Yeah.
Or any of these energy deals. Why don't you bring our petroleum, our petroleum sector, who are not, because you see now, some of our civil society groups, independent think tanks have unfortunately been seen as aligned.
Luckily, funny thing, the economics and finance side have a lot of that. So, for example, during the financial side, there are lots of independent people you get to speak to. And as you said, the lawyers, typically, they are more partisan. So you don't have that many independent lawyers. Or they don't...
Bernard, unfortunately for the media, you guys have a list of lawyers you call.
Okay.
You see, when Mr. Forson was president, we told them that anytime you need expertise, you wrote the request through the bar.
You can give us more people.
We will give you people, you'll be shocked about it. You see, the thing about Ghana is that we are blessed nation at times we don't even know. Of course, we have our problems. There are a lot of deep thoughts in this nation, just that they've not been given the opportunity. So my point is, anytime, I'll tell any media person, listen, if you
maybe you can publish a list of legal experts on 20 areas, put it on your website. These are the people you can choose from.
We may face issues with our legal profession rules and touting and everything.
Okay.
So you see the point.
No, you can put it out for civil, for public education, and for public interest law.
Somebody whose name is not in that list will then take.
No, you can form a committee and say if you are interested, put your name there.
The best thing is just route the request to us. We will tell
you. You see, because the realities of modern broadcasting don't allow that. So what I'm saying to you is that, look, if I have an issue with the currency, there are 10 people I can call who will not be called NDC or MPP who can speak about the currency.
Absolutely.
Some of them work in banks, some of them are economists, some of them are lecturers, but they are available and we know them. My point is that because the lawyers,
because nobody has tagged the Institute of Engineers as MPP. Nobody has tagged the Ghana Association of Bankers. Unfortunately, we are the only profession that people have decided to tag as this.
See, so you have this baggage.
Wrong baggage. Wrong baggage. But you see, the thing is, it's because our ancients fought Rollins as a military ruler.
Mm-hmm.
People think that we are carrying this thing over to now. Nobody.
Later, I'll read a few comments and we wrap up. My guest this morning for breakfast, and he hasn't even been giving breakfast though. So we will give him something to drink before he goes. He's the 27th or so bar president, and he says, look, there's a lot of things he wants to do. He takes some of the criticism, but he also says we can't be reading Lamentations in Hebrews. I thought that was quite interesting. But you do know that in the New Testament, you find a lot of Old Testament quoted in the New.
Of course, Jesus Christ came to fulfill and not to abolish.
So he even quoted a lot of Lamentations.
Absolutely, yes. And that was the time of James, Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John. But not Hebrews, Lamentations, and then the Hebrews.
We'll come back and read a few comments. We're talking to the GDA president. Stay with us.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Wow. So you work fully as a lawyer, and then you also...
But my Nigerian counterpart takes 2 years off.
It's like a sabbatical to just do this.
Yeah, and then he gets all the things.
And he gets paid too.
Yeah, the Nigerian bar president has protocol.
It's like a national level. Oh my God.
Nigerian bar president has state protocol. I think
it's part of the state system.
Until this year, when they started taking away subsidies for fuel and everything, they were actually being subsidized by the federal government.
But that compromises their independence.
Well,
so I think you are in a better position.
No, we will not do.
Because he means it's part of the problem.
No, but the point is, in Ghana, we will take, because seriously, if the government gives the bar money, that would be day that the bar will
the bar will accept it.
Absolutely.
No, the lawyers will say, hey, for where?
No, we wouldn't even do that.
You don't need that. Well, Nathan, a few comments on the matters before we wrap up.
Yes, Kenamwaku Sena, who's in Peki, says, why can't a level of offenders be made to clean the community, work in schools as laborers, be put on large-scale farms, clean gutters, rather than being sent to prison?
That's a question we've all been asking.
Yes. And the gentleman, he has an issue with the police. He was put behind. He said he was detained for about 2 hours at the Medina District HQ opposite the Medina Market. Now, he's saying that his crime was that he asked the police what the charge against his father was. Now, he says, when they raised their voice at me for asking the question, I said, there's no need to flare up. It's just a question I'm asking. I was put behind bars by one officer. I was charged for unlawful conduct and granted bail of 800 cedis after my mother and 2 other companions of hers cried their eyes out. I was detained between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So he wants to find out whether he had been treated fairly.
This is a question of law. So we'll put it on a question of law, which is hosted by Kweku Citi. Hopefully, we'll invite the GBA president for a question of law. It's a program we are doing for legal education. So it's
Okay.
part of what we do.
Yes. This question is asking, ask the GBA president that what does the law say about breaking the law? Why is it that politicians persistently break the law, especially when it comes to managing public funds? What can the GBA do to prevent politicians from sinking all of us? And why are they not doing it? Remember, if the actions or activities of politicians lead to the deprivation of people of critical infrastructure like hospitals and people die, it's human rights abuse.
Okay.
So he's asking what.
There's a question that somebody wants me to ask. Ernest wants me to ask you your views about constitutional review or reform. Some people say we need a new constitution. Some say constitution needs to be changed. This Fourth Republican constitution, is there a position on this from the association?
No, the association, I don't know, but for me personally, I believe in the gradualists. I think that there are some provisions that can be looked at. Wholesale, I mean, I'm very reticent when populism starts taking shape. I think that there are certain provisions. For example, one thing that readily comes into mind is I don't think that members of parliament should be members of the executive. You know, there are certain provisions that we can take and work out, but a wholesale repeal of the Fourth Republic Constitution, something I'm very uncomfortable with. I think that naturally with any document, after 30 years, you have to really look at it. But I think that we should really look at certain provisions, you know, take them, you know, piecemeal, look at the ones that best practices have shown. And for example, you know, on matters like the Constitution should have this independent fiscal stability council, which I believe, because this idea of government spending without
any control
is something that we have to. And the point is, how how much can the government borrow? You know, all these things, there should be some, because this thing about the Fourth Republic, governments seem to do everything they want with our public finance and just keep on borrowing. There must be borrowing ceilings for a year. You know, all these are things that we have to look at.
So you think the constitution can be improved in a gradual sense without necessarily having a full constitutional overhaul?
The reason is that our constitution is peculiar. I always tell people that our constitution is more like an act of parliament. You know, this is a constitution that has even the retirement age of public officials in. I think because of our history, there was really no doubt to be created. So it's really drafted, and I think Dr. S.K.B. Asante, Solicitor General, United Nations drafting thing, you know, so it's really drafted as an act of parliament. Very simple and, you know, has so many things in there. So it really doesn't call for that wholesale repeal before we end up with a document that may scare us, you know. So that's my
final comment from Nathan. You have a question?
Well, yeah, somebody sent me a question, was asking, sorry, the person wants to know why is it that lawyers in Ghana don't do pro bono cases often. This is the person's assertion.
Well, I don't know which country the person is living in. I always tell people that in Matthew 7, Jesus Christ says on that day, you said you were in prison, you came to visit me, help me. We are the only profession that pro bono, you see, the thing is that Ghana goes beyond the high street of Accra. And even those big commercial firms, if they tell you the things that they do for pro bono, there is no lawyer in Ghana who can say that my practice is really going to be billing. Unless maybe those who do strict corporate and nothing else. But most lawyers...
Is there a pro bono quota your members are supposed to do?
You know, we don't. But if the day we do that...
Wouldn't that be nice?
No, the day we do that, there will be a problem. Because
Why?
if you see, the thing about quotas is that even though it's a minimum, it becomes the end of expectation. You know, for example...
But if you say that the lawyers in good standing do spend maybe 10% of your time doing pro bono work to give back to society because it's so expensive for people to get access to law, I mean, that's positive.
Let me give an example. You know, the law says that the right to counsel. In assizes, you know, those trials on indictment, almost every person must have a lawyer.
Yeah.
You know what we do? It's called assigned briefs. What the judges do with collaborate the regional presidents, Bernard Avle, this matter.
Whether you like it or not.
And you are duty bound.
He's forcing you to do it.
You are duty bound, or less maybe you can get somebody in your chambers to do it. And then it takes precedence over all your matters. So that's what we do. So immediately you tell me that.
So it's even there already.
Yes, I mean, pro bono is an essential part of our profession. You know, I will say that the devil has confounded people. That's why people think that doctors are better people than us. But you see, they are the ones who ask for money to save a 3-year-old child with a hole in heart. But you see, every profession, every country, civilized, let me say, advanced democracy has legal aid. public defenders.
Yeah.
At that point, even America doesn't have free medical aid. So the thing is,
so lawyers are better than doctors.
No,
in that sense,
we are the only ones that carry out Jesus Christ's mandate on earth. But because the devil has confounded people,
because he was already healing, so he wasn't a lawyer, so he needed lawyers to do.
No,
free
but
law.
he said we should do good, and we are the only profession that does good as part of our.
Yeah, Champ Mboafo is the president of the Ghana Bar Association. Is the 27th or 28th? We are not sure, but certainly one of the 20-somethings.
Let me correct this thing. Paul Adujemfi served this all 3 years. It was only, you said, for a short time. Adujemfi was 2001, 2004. It's Neil Samuels who Neil Samuels who served only 1 year.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
So Adujemfi took over from Ebokwashi, and then Solomon Kwame Tete took over from Edujemfi, and then Neil Samuels. Thank you, Yao. Good to talk to you. Nathan, thank you for being on the show.
You know the name, right? Even if I was